All right, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We've got a number of folks signed in so far. My name is Chuck McLean. Can anyone hear me? Get a wave or? Okay, I got a couple waves. Thank you. First, let me thank everyone for your patience in advance with this. This is new technology for everyone, and this is kind of the first large-scale public hearing that we've tried like this. My name is Chuck McLean. I'm the Chief Public Utility Law Judge at the Maryland Public Service Commission. We're conducting a public hearing tonight via WebEx, and we're also live streaming this on YouTube. The hearing is tonight's hearing is related to an application filed by Dan's Mountain Wind Force LLC for an exemption from the requirement to obtain a certificate of public convenience and necessity for the construction of the proposed 70 megawatt Dan's Mountain wind energy generation facility in Allegheny County, Maryland. This will consist of up to 17 utility scale wind turbine generators located on a ridge line 3 to 4 miles southeast of Frostburg on Dan's Mountain. On February 24th, 2020, the Commission delegated the conduct of this evening's hearing to me. Now, while I am conducting this evening's hearing, the Commission will consider Dan's Mountain's application at a future administrative meeting, and we'll make all the decisions related to that application.
Your Honor, please ask everybody to mute their.
As you may know, are held on each Wednesday at 10 a.m. And those meetings are also being held virtually and live streamed on the Commission's website. If you're interested in viewing the Commission's administrative meeting, you can go to the Commission's website and click on Watch PSC Proceedings on the left side of the Commission's webpage. Each meeting is also recorded and archived so it can be viewed at a later date.
Glass of water.
The purpose of this evening's hearing is to allow any member of the public to comment on the application, either for or against. There should be representatives from Dan's Mountain, as well as the Office of People's Counsel, which is an independent state agency that represents the interests of residential ratepayers, the Department of Natural Resources and Research Program, which is a state entity that oversees and coordinates the review of these types of filings on behalf of 7 different state agencies. And there's also Commission's technical staff who reviews the project's impact on the reliability and stability of the distribution grid. And before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone that you can still submit written comments both electronically and by first-class mail. If you do submit those comments, they have to be submitted by May 29th, 2020. And please ensure that all written comments reference mail log 228173. Now, I've received emails from over 40 individuals interested in speaking tonight, both for and against the project. What I'll do is I'm going to limit everyone to 4 minutes, and I'll give you a 1-minute warning. And I'm going to alternate between those for and those against. It's a pretty close divide, so I'll go an opposed, in favor, and opposed, in favor, and so on. After going through all those folks that have signed up, I'll circle back to ensure that we haven't missed anyone, and then give everybody else an opportunity to a brief opportunity to make some additional comments. Now, when I call your name, I'll ask you to unmute your microphone, state your name, and spell it, because we do have a court reporter that's creating a transcript for the Commission to review in advance of the administrative meeting. Now, as of today, this item is on the Commission's June 3rd draft agenda. So now it's a draft, so that is subject to change. And I know we have a couple folks that are on the phone, so I'm going to start with one of those folks. Is Nancy Lawrence on the phone?
Yes.
She's just on the phone.
How about Brian Schaefer?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
We got several calls. Who's
Nancy
Yeah.
did acknowledge. She did say yes, she's there.
I can't hear you, sir, if you're calling in or if you're speaking to me.
She
Yes,
said that she's
I'm here.
Okay, let me see here.
Yes, I'm here.
This person speaks, ask the others to, yes, absolutely. Again, please mute yourself if you're not speaking. Is there, who's ever call-in user 2? Can you identify yourself?
Nancy
You must-
Lawrence.
All right, how about the first person on the phone?
You must not be able to hear us. Can you hear us?
Hello.
There's some interference.
Anything
Hello,
on
Judge.
folks
This
on the
is Chip
phone?
McLeod on the phone on behalf of Anchor.
All right, Miss Park, can you hear me?
I am here.
Yeah.
Your Honor, you're not able to hear us. Many people are responding.
He ain't here.
Now. All right. All right, that's, all right, who's with me here? Who's speaking? Who's on the, I just turned up my volume. I'm not sure if that was the problem.
Can you hear? Can you hear me?
I can, sir, and who's this?
This is Jim Forsyth.
How are you, sir?
Good.
I'm assuming you're on the computer?
Yes.
All right, you know what? Let me, I'm gonna come back to you, sir, see if we can get some of these folks on the phone, okay?
Yeah, so the first names that you called, they immediately responded to you. So go back to your list and start it again.
I appreciate it. Nancy Lawrence.
Yes, I'm here. I would go ahead with my comments, but there is interference.
Ma'am, can I get you to please spell your name both first and last, because we do have a court reporter doing a transcript for this, okay?
I'll spell my name. It's Nancy, Nancy. Last name Lawrence, Lawrence.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
It seems to me that in Allegheny County, changes occur before being researched in depth. A small group of the elected or appointed make decisions for the larger group of residents who have no opportunity to vote on controversial issues. Wind turbines were thrust upon the county without the consent of its citizens. My experience began about 5 years ago when I heard a noise that could not be identified at that time. It could only be heard for 1 or 2 days a month. My husband could not hear it, and a neighbor across the street could not hear it, but I could. It was later, I was later to learn that some individuals can hear within the lower ranges of audible frequency, which is called infrasound, and some in the higher ranges known as ultrasound. Commonly, people hear within these two ranges. That's considered 20 Hz, which stands for hertz, the number of sound and vibrations generated per second. For those people who hear infrasounds, those sounds are registered by the nervous system and can affect the person's body. The sound I'm hearing is relentless noise that cannot be blocked. It's intrusive, persistent, irritating, monotonous, anxiety-provoking. It takes precedence over all other household sounds. Earplugs don't work. Sleep-inducing sound machines don't work. The noise penetrates everything, the walls of the house and the protection of the cranium. They certainly do interfere with sleep. The number of turbines have increased during the last 5 years. The hours of operation have increased to several days per week. Now I can hear them for up to 6 days and nights continually before there's a break of 2 or 3 days, and then it all begins again. Wind turbines do not belong in communities where they disrupt the peaceful existence of lives. It's one thing to move if you want to. It's another to feel like you are being driven out of your home because of a situation you didn't ask for and that has caused intrusion and disruption. I've read that people on both sides of the issue will state that the majority of people in the county want the turbines or do not want them. How can we make a determination about something so controversial when there is no vote of the larger populace? Why do turbines exist in the state of Maryland only in Allegheny County and Garrett counties? Why aren't other counties building their share? Allegheny County is a poor county, but does that justify the rush for money when the potential for disrupting the lives of citizens is involved? There
About
are
1 minute
jobs.
left, ma'am.
There are jobs created when turbines are first built, but exactly how many long-term, well-paying jobs are generated? Is home ownership affected? Yes. Do property values go down? Yes. How many people would say, there's a wind turbine going up, let's build next to it? No one would say that. If the proposed wind turbines are built on Downs Mountain, would that prove to be a hindrance to children in the very nearby schools, Bel Air in particular? Would they be a distraction to the right of best learning environment? As a former teacher, I can say yes, faculty could be affected, students could be affected, and therefore parents would be affected. But after that,
Can you just wrap it up, please? All right, yes, ma'am.
the only solution would be lawsuits to have them removed. Is my time up?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay, I'll stop now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lawrence. All right, is Max Dickman on the line?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Excellent, sir. If I could just get you to state your name and spell it, please.
Sure. It's Max Dickman. That's M-A-X. Last name is David. D as in David. Last name is Dickman. D as in David. I-C-K-M-A-N.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Sure. No, I appreciate you having me here and allowing me to speak on this issue. So thank you for that. And obviously, as an introduction, I'm director of real estate for Waste Management. So as part of the owners of the property in question, we certainly have an interest in the project's success and are in favor of it. That said, I'd ask this body to make a decision based, as best you can on the merits in front of you. However you decide, whoever has a stronger case, it's important to be based on facts and not perceptions. And, we as Waste Management often have with landfills projects that meet community opposition. And we work very closely with the homeowners closest to the project to make sure that we're being good neighbor. And I believe the applicant has done so in this case, offering significant infrastructure improvements to those who have the largest potential impact. And I'm not suggesting that those homeowners further away don't have every right to be heard, as our previous caller did, and that any legitimate claims shouldn't be treated with all the merit they deserve. But just that it's just important that their concerns be an actual harm rather than a perceived one. And I know the applicant has a lot of data on sound travel and noise and where it actually will reach, rather than being something that someone perceives will be a problem, whether or not it really is. As a property owner in the area, I think it's important that those rights are respected, provide consideration has been made for the neighboring owners, which appears to be the case here. Finally, I'll just add one thing is that we're excited about the addition of a renewable energy resource on Waste Management property. We're proud to be one of the country's leaders in renewable power, whether from landfill to gas energy, solar projects on closed landfill, or in this case, the potential of wind power. So that's about all I have to say. We're in favor of the project and hope that it gets considered on its merits. And thank you very much for allowing me to make a presentation today.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate your time. All right, is there a Brian Schaefer on the phone?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm here.
Okay, great. If you could just state your name and spell it, please.
Brian, B-R-I-A-N, Schaefer, S-H-A-F-F-E-R.
All right, thank you very much, sir. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you. I object to the placement of wind turbines on Dan's Mountain. I am a property owner residing on Dan's Mountain in the development known as Bel Air. I object to the placement of wind turbines on Dan's Mountain. Wind turbines on Dan's Mountain would tower over top the 500 homes and school located in Bel Air. The constant movement of such wind turbines will cause unbearable, never-ending noise in an otherwise silent neighborhood. Wind turbines will cause adverse health conditions, motion sickness, mental anguish, and financial and irreparable damage to the families living there. If wind turbines are allowed to be erected in what is now a beautiful, majestic landscape, would be transformed into an eyesore that would be seen for 30 miles in every direction. The people of Allegheny County cherish Dan's Mountain in the same way the people of Baltimore cherish their Chesapeake Bay. I object to Dan's Mountain Wind Force receiving an exemption from the necessity of a CPCN or the issuance of a CPCN. I object to the repeated applications made by Dan's Mountain Wind Force to the Public Service Commission for the purpose of erecting wind turbines on Dan's Mountain. I have worked my entire life to have a home on Dan's Mountain. Please do not allow a group of people who have no regard for the people of Allegheny County or our mountain to destroy this place of beauty and peace out of greed. That's it, Your Honor. I thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, sir. I do appreciate them. Next, I've got Cliff Wendricks, if he's on the phone.
Yes, sir.
All right. Sir, again, if you could just state your name and spell it, please, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Cliff, C-L-I-F-F, Wendricks, W-E-N-D-R-I-C-K-S. I'd just like to... All right. Thank you, sir, for allowing me some time to speak. I hope what's displayed here is clear regarding the Dan's Mountain Wind Farm in Allegheny County. My wife and I own property on the New Creek Wind Farm in Mineral County, West Virginia, and I've had the pleasure of being part of this development for several years ago. As an area resident and a landowner, I've had firsthand experience in seeing a wind farm site be developed from start to finish. I've witnessed the tree removal, the land clearing, the construction of roads, and the process of erecting the turbines. I've had many friends who've lived in the end, have many friends that make a living in this industry, and have spoke to quite a few landowners who have turbines on their land as well. I will admit my wife and I had apprehension originally about allowing a turbine to be placed on our land. And rather than listen to the people that were regurgitating misconceptions, we chose to do our own research. We drove to a nearby site, stood under a turbine, visited existing sites, seen the deforestation that was being claimed, and we spoke to neighbors to better understand the potential health concerns. What we ultimately decided was to move forward and allow the company developing our project to place a turbine. There's no doubt that the wind turbines change the aesthetics of the area and they overlook the land below. However, we all benefit from the luxury of having the ability to turn on a light switch and have energy come into our homes for modern conveniences. This, of course, comes with risks and considerations to everyone around us. If we choose to build a coal powerhouse, a nuclear power generation unit, hydro, sun, or wind power, we understand that modern conveniences come at a cost. As far as I know, we have yet to see power generation facilities operate a carbon neutral footprint without risks and concerns. But we're now on the brink of seeing sources like wind energy able to develop power without many negative side effects. We're seeing area wind projects like the Pinnacle Wind Farm in Kaiser actively planning to dismantle and retool those same turbines for greater efficiencies only after 8 years. This not only is a win for the companies developing them, this will provide additional revenues to the local community by way of reassessed taxes. The landowners will receive larger payments based on output, and the same footprint will now increase value because of better efficiencies. I think we can all agree that we must remain good stewards of our land for future generations, but we must also allow technologies to help us in meeting this goal. I would hope that we all can now recognize, after seeing propaganda from both political parties during this pandemic, how divisive this country is politically and how so many misconceptions can spread so easily. Allow this project to be built so that hardworking construction workers can go back to work, so that landowners can receive compensation to help them maintain their land, and that our dying community can continue to survive with replacement of lost tax revenue. We're a community that loves this area, and I, for one, heavily invested here. I'm not planning to move away. For the betterment of the overall community, please consider approving the project so we can with a cleaner and more responsible energy source with tax revenue. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. All right. Next up, I'm not sure who else is calling in. I'm just going to go down on my list. Darlene Park, are you there, ma'am? I saw you somewhere. Miss Park?
Here. I can hear you.
Okay, great. Go. Again, if you could just state your name and spell it, please, that'd be great.
All right. Darlene, Darlene, Park, Park. I live at Harwood Drive, Southwest. I request a PSC to deny the application of Dan's Mountain Wind Force. My family was the 8th home to be built in the Harwood subdivision in 1991. In 2015, there were 67 homes in the development when, in July, Dan's Mountain applied to the Board of Zoning Appeal for 26 variances to build 17 wind turbines for a project of 37.3 megawatts. 14 of the turbines would be 496 feet tall with 2.3 megawatts. With 3 shorter turbines with over megawatts. When the appeal was denied, Dan's Mountain applied to the CPCN, the PSC for CPCN for the same location, for the same 17 wind turbines, but for 59.5 megawatts with all turbines 580 feet tall and at 3.5 megawatts. This CPCN was denied in January 2017 because of the adverse impact upon the 5 residential communities it would create. Dan's Mountain filed an appeal with the PSC Commission for review of Judge Romine's decision. In 2017, the Commission affirmed her decision from the fall of 2015 until January 2020. 7 homes have been built in the Harwood subdivision for a total of now 74 homes. Thus far, this project has even a greater impact on more homeowners in this development. This new application is incomplete. The only thing we know about the project is that it's 70 megawatt. How many times does Dan's Mountain get to apply? Forever? No site plan was provided in this application. The developer couldn't even commit to 17 turbines in the application. They're stating there could be more. For the information of 17 turbines, if that's all it's going to be, they're going to have megawatts of over 4.0. From the 2015 to 2016 site plan, turbines number 1, 2, 3, and 4 are east of my home. From the federal FAA site map, turbine number 1 was to be 2,534 feet. Now add 580 feet to that, and the from the proposed turbines in 2016, that's a total of 3,114 feet. The elevation of my home is approximately 2,200 feet. If I'm
about 1 minute, ma'am.
Okay, by time we subtract the height of the turbines from our elevation, we're looking at turbines over 900 feet tall. How much with turbines what I would see most likely the blades of all 4 turbines. Turbines rotate at 360 degrees vertically and have the capability to rotate 360 degrees to catch the wind in all directions. This project has always been in the wrong location and still is today. The entire Harwood subdivision's quality of life, use of home and outdoor space could create health issues for the entire families forever and make our homes unlivable and unsellable. I think the commission should maybe they should visit nearby Garrett County so they can see how large these turbines are and talk to people. Please deny the Dan's Mountain application for the peace of mind of the residents in the Harwood subdivision and in the other 4 adjoining communities.
Thank you very much, Ms. Park. I appreciate it. And we'll be back to your husband shortly, but we're going to go over and call it another witness, okay?
Thank you. Yes.
Is there Sean Bender on the line?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can. Again, if you could just state your name and spell it, please, I'd be grateful.
My name is Sean Bender, spelled ShawnBender.
Excellent. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify this evening. I've been a lifelong resident of Garrett County, Maryland. Even amidst the current challenges that we all face, my opinion is that the Dan's Mountain Wind Force project is more critical than ever to our region. As we look towards a recovery from the crisis that we currently face, we have a shovel-ready, privately funded stimulus project right in front of us. As a lifelong resident of Garrett County in Western Maryland, I recall the days when surface mining was very prevalent in our region. Today, only a few of those remain. Many would say that that's a good thing and that we are seeing the benefits of the reductions in environmental impacts. Today, I work in the industrial service business. Over the years, I've been involved in countless projects from coal to oil and natural gas, hydro, solar developments, and wind developments. As a nation and as a state, we have collectively decided, through those we have elected, that progress needed to be made in regards to energy production. The days of relying heavily on a few resources for power generation have been put behind us. Having worked in so many facets of the energy sector, I've been pleased to see the value of the diverse energy resources that we have to choose from. That diversity has provided a very stable and reliable energy, as well as security in knowing that we as a nation are largely in control of our critical energy infrastructure. The Dan's Mountain Wind Force project is a much needed addition to that portfolio. Connecting back to my opening remarks about the coal mines, the world around us is moving on. Western Maryland has experienced much loss, whether it's mining, agriculture, or manufacturing. And here's an opportunity for private investments, which will generate hundreds of construction jobs, ongoing maintenance jobs, and a steady flow of revenue into the local economy through landowner payments and taxes. As a previous testifier commented, with owning turbines and having them on their property, my family has that opportunity as well in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, and is living in Garrett County, Maryland. I've gotten accustomed to the wind turbines on the ridges, and my experience has been positive with those as well. In summary, our region needs continued investment like the Dan's Mountain Wind Force project that will generate jobs and revenue. Our landowners have the right to benefit from the resources that are associated with the land that they own. Energy independence and reliability are critical to our region and our nation. I urge you to approve the CPCN exemption certificate and allow this project to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate your comments. All right, next up, we'll go back to Mr. Park. Are you there, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, excellent. If you could just state your name and spell it, and then.
Okay, my name is William Park, and it's WILLIAMPARK. And what I would like to talk about is Maryland First communication towers. I got direct testimony that I'm going to refer to that came from John Hensey, Maryland State Police Headquarters. He's in charge of Maryland First. This was his direct testimony, some of the statements from the public to the Public Service Commission on August 8th, 2016. In his statement, he quotes, asked him a question, what is the importance of the system to the state? The system is being built across the state of Maryland and will provide a statewide template for public safety communications. The system utilizes both microwave and fiber redundancy and required public safety. The system is used by the state agencies such as the Department of Natural Resources, Department of Transportation, State Highway, the Maryland State Police, and etc. It also is currently used by federal and local officials. The system provides communication interoperably with your surrounding states. The system provides counties in Maryland with backup communications, public safety with 3 counties, and what have you. I guess the bottom line is, when I get down to it, the last statement that they asked him, what concerns, if any, does the state have about impact? He said there are 2 areas of concern. One involves the degree of electromagnetic interference, EMI, generated by turbines and all subcomponents, and how this affect or interfere with public safety communication. This concern not only centers around physical structure, but also the amount of EMI generated as turbines grow older and how this may interfere with public safety communication. The second concern is regarding signal bounce and its impacts to public safety communications. Based on analysis by the Maryland First Project, technical experts on staff, and by Motorola, the state engineer's contractor, it is impossible to predict model radio signal bounce when moving objects are introduced to the area. Motorola cannot provide a level of reliability a contract with the state requires for public safety agencies when moving objects, such as wind turbines or area. Fixed objects can be modeled and adjusted, made equipment, however, communication signal bouncing off objects that constantly, such as turbines, can cause the signal to be canceled out, rendered public safety and communication. The Maryland First new tower is already erected. And there are several other towers up there at this site. One is RDC Microwave Incorporated. It's the radio station. I think US Cellular has already wrote a letter stating that
1 minute, sir.
Yes,
about 1 minute, sir.
I guess I want to stop there and say I'm requesting or suggesting that this application be denied. And it's been going at this thing for 12 years. It's the wrong proposed location for a wind turbine project. There's nothing wrong with wind turbines, but it's just the wrong location. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. All right, next up, we have Leslie Forsyth.
Yes, can you hear me? This is Leslie Forsyth.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, my name is Leslie, Leslie. Last name Forsyth, Forsythe. And I support the request from Dan's Mountain Wind Force for a CPCN exemption. My father, Robert Blau, bought a large parcel of land on Dan's Mountain in the late 1960s. This property at 1,500 acres is the largest portion of land in the Dan's Mountain Wind Force's wind project. The property is owned by the Margaret Ann Blau Irrevocable Trust. My 2 sisters and I are the trustees. After my father's death in 2003, my mother, Margaret Blau, was the sole beneficiary of the trust. At her death in 2008, my 3 siblings and myself became the beneficiaries. My husband and my brother will all be speaking this evening, also in favor of the exemption. For my few minutes speaking, I will introduce my family to you because I think it is important for you to know the people whom your decision will affect. None of us have ever been rich, nor were our parents. We are all typically middle class. For 18 years, since our father signed a lease with Windforce in 2002, we have been waiting and hoping for this wind project to be built. While we have waited, our parents have died and we have all grown older. My youngest sibling will turn 60 this month, and the oldest is 68. One of us is disabled and lives on government assistance and with one of our sisters. As this process slowly grinds forward, we fear that the four of us may also die before its completion. All four of us need the economic help the wind project will give us. We especially long to see our disabled sibling provided for in old age. This is a true human side to your decision. We believe in Dan's Mountain Wind Force and the plan that they have for this wind project. We have watched them comply with all federal, state, and county laws throughout this 18-year process. The PCS previously granted a CPCN exemption for the project. All the requirements for the exception have been met. This wind farm will be a huge benefit to the Blau family, as well as to Allegheny County. I asked you to grant this exemption to Dan's Mountain Wind Force, and I thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for your time, ma'am. All right, next up is Dale Allen there. I can, sir.
Yeah, my Dale Allen. I live 14,000.
Sir, if I could just get you to spell out your name, please.
D-A-L-E, last name A-O-L-E-N.
Thank you very much, sir. The floor is yours.
All right. The Army in Vietnam, I searched a place out where I could have peace and quiet. And I found this Civil War farmhouse that I'm purchased. My on 58 acres. And my property is directly adjacent, borders Dan's Mountain Wind Force project. Now, they built this house here because they knew where the water was back 170 years ago. I've been living here for 46 years, and my spring water is the first outcrop of an aquifer up on Dan's Mountain. And I've run 37 water and wastewater treatment plants in my. And I know for a fact if they start blasting up on Dan's Mountain, solid rock here, my spring is the first thing to go. Also, I'm an avid bicyclist, and I ride up on the Great Allegheny Passage past the wind turbines in Pennsylvania. And I can tell you from being in Vietnam, flying in helicopters, jet turbine engine sounds that they produce and the blade flick and mechanical noises that they produce is nothing that I could live with at my farm. I didn't buy the place. If I wanted to listen to that noise, I could live in BWI Airport closer than I can. Now, for 40 years, I've put everything I've made into my historic home. I've created a natural sanctuary for the game and the wildlife here to live. The spring is 300 feet closer to the wind turbines than my house, so it's going to be compromised immediately. The ground here, my house is at 2,400 feet. The wind turbines are about 150 feet on my house because of the slope. So I'd have 2 rows of wind turbines right in front of my house. First one's with 2,000 feet away, and the next one would be about 3,200 feet away, the second line. I would have blade flicker on my property 144 days a year, turbine engine sounds 24/7. Friends of mine live by the projects in Garrett County in Pennsylvania, and they have new homes and have to live in the basement of their homes because of the strobe light effect that the puts on their property. And the infrasound penetrates the walls of your house and your body and causes severe health issues. So that's very concerning for me. That I live in a perfectly natural setting. I'd have to live with curtains drawn, live in my basement, have no water. I also own part of Burns Road that they want to bring the turbines up on. So I have not given anybody permission to travel a private road that a parcel. And in the courts, they said there'd be 488 trips a day up and down a single lane burning mine. There's no provision made whatsoever for me to get in and out of my house. So, the electromagnetic interference produced would interfere with my dish network, my cell phone, and 911 communications. I fought in Vietnam, and I shouldn't have to fight corporate subsidized greed to protect my property. Our country is $27 trillion in debt, and yet we're going to give these corporations subsidized money, our tax money, for boondoggle projects. It's that the wind turbine, if they run their entire life, cannot create enough energy that even took to produce it. So this is for the 2,000 homes plus mine around the project. This is a
If I could get you to wrap it up here in maybe the next 10, 15 seconds, please.
This is the wrong location. You're going to affect 2,000 homes.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, sir, and thank you for your service.
Bye.
Jim Forsyth.
Yes, this is Jim Forsyth. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can, and thank you for the assist earlier.
You're welcome. My name is Jim Forsyth. That's J-I-M. Forsyth is the last name, F-O-R-S-Y-T-H-E. I support the request from Dan's Mountain Windforce for a CPCN exemption. My wife, Leslie, is both trustee and beneficiary of the Margaret Ann Blau Irrevocable Trust. The trust owns the largest tract of land on Dan's Mountain that will be used for the Dan's Mountain Wind Project. My job has us living near Austin, Texas, where there is an economic boom. Here we see firsthand the benefits of living in a county that is thriving. Unfortunately, Allegheny County, Maryland, is not thriving. In fact, with the recent closure of the Loop paper mill and past shutdown of coal mining, the county is hurting financially. The current COVID-19 crisis has made things even more difficult economically for the people in Allegheny County. During their 50-plus years of ownership, the Blau family has paid a large amount of money in property taxes. But years of property taxes paid on an undeveloped property are nothing in comparison to the property taxes to be paid once the wind project is built. It is estimated that in 1 year, the property taxes will be more than $1 million. The project will become the third largest taxpayer in the county. That's more than we have paid in all the years the Blaus have owned the property. To build and maintain the project, Windforce will need to pave Burning Mines Road. It will need to be maintained and kept plowed of snow. All this work will be done by Windforce. This will be a huge improvement for every property owner on the mountain. Windforce has already put a great amount of money into this project. Much of that money has been spent in Allegheny County. They have used local businesses for surveys, engineering, attorneys, required testing. They have also been staying in local hotels and eating in local restaurants. This has added up to millions of dollars invested to date in Allegheny County. They plan to build a $90 to $100 million wind facility, which will supply more than $1 million of property taxes that I mentioned earlier. Maryland's Clean Energy Job Act, implemented by Governor Hogan, requires that by 2030, in 10 years, the state gets 50% of its electricity from renewable sources. And in 20 years, the law requires 100%. The mountains that west of Maryland offer wind resources to support wind turbines. Right now, we're only at 12% in Maryland. This is a marvelous source right from the state to increase the percentage of renewable energy for Maryland. There are always complaints about every form of energy. Coal, natural gas, wind, all of them have their detractors. I firmly believe that this wind project is an environmentally sound source of energy. I completely disagree with those who stand against this project. Sometimes it seems no one wants any form of energy. Dan's Mountain will be a win. It will benefit the economy of Allegheny County as well as bring in more taxes for the state of Maryland. It will increase Maryland's reliance on renewable energy. I ask you to grant this exemption to Dan's Mountain Windforce so that this wind project can continue to help Allegheny County in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate your comments. All right. Next up, we have David Tibbetts. You there, sir?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Again, if you could just state your name, but there you are. I can just get you to state your name and spell it, please.
David Tibbetts, Tibbetts. I live in Bel Air on Dan's Mountain. And I'm also, and I'm not speaking on their behalf, but I am also a member of the Bel Air Citizens Committee. And I think it's also relevant that we actually have 650 homes. Same thing right here. Am I loud enough?
You are. If I could, if folks aren't speaking, if you could mute your phones or your computers, I'd be grateful, and that'd make a much better recording for everybody. So I appreciate that. And Mr. Tibbetts, you're doing well.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to try not to be repetitive, but it's like I had sent in a letter of January 28, 2020, referring to my objections to the project. But basically, first off, it would be the viewscape. This area, this mountain has a wonderful viewscape, and that is a cognizable interest, if you pardon my speaking as a lawyer and environmentalist. So anyway, but also, this project started in 2008. It's been denied the last certificate of public necessity and need. I refer you to, I think, former Chief Public Utility Law Judge Roan issued a proposed order number 88260 denying Dan's Mountain Wind Force a CPN application for case number 9413 for turbines 580 feet tall with 3.5 megawatt generators because construction of the wind project does not justify or subjecting the local communities to the adverse impacts that will come from the wind project's construction and operation. And I'd also like to point out that in terms of whose ox is getting aboard, which is the purpose of this decision, there are 52% of the population of the county lives either within a mile or 2 miles of this. So it's like, this is a tremendous, it's the most popular. So we've got five residential communities within a mile of this. And it's also, the other thing is, in terms of the one thing that hasn't really been talked about is the impact on water. These projects are going to take either 1,768 acres or 2,800 acres, depending on which version you believe. And and there's supposed to be a 4 acre footpad for the average one. And I can tell you from my own knowledge that we have drainage issues in Bel Air now. We're at the foot of the mountain, and blowing up our water table can't help. And particularly the people in Harwood have deep wells and spent a lot of money. So that issue hasn't really been fully litigated. And it's like, once you break the aquifer, you break the aquifer. That's just all there is to it. And other concerns you've talked about or heard talked about, but basically, and I am a lawyer, and I looked at the McLeod Law Group May 15, 2020 letter, and I think it is covered by res judicata, by any common sense. I mean, either that or the doctrine of repose. It's like, this has been going on since 2008. It's been denied. They won one round in the Allegheny County Board of Zoning Appeals, and they're back again. It's like, res judicata would seem to apply, in the doctrine of repose, we should be able to enjoy this issue being put to rest. But here we are again.
1 minute.
That's all I have to say, sir. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So you still got another minute if you want to keep going.
Well, I would just also say flicker is a real thing. And it's like, as a lawyer, I have some clients who live up in Garrett County, and it's like, one of the residents in the Savage Wind Project area cannot sleep in his house without sleeping in the basement with the blinds closed, because it does affect people. And also, but again, it's the water. And how many times do we got to do this? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. All right. Who do we have? Let's see. Next, is there Marcine Blau? we'll circle back. How about a Robert Blau?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing out there?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm assuming you're related to Marcine?
I am related to Marcine. She couldn't make it to this. If you can take her off your list, but I'm here for her. All right.
Okay, great, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Again, if you could just state your name and spell it, and the floor is yours.
Robert Blau, ROBERT BLOUGH. And I'm speaking in favor for the exemption for Dan's Mountain. I am one of the members of the family that owns the largest part of the Dan's Mountain property that will be using the wind force. It's been in our for 50 years. My father bought it a long time ago to help us live our lives in a better shape. But nothing happened. So we decided that we would just continue to pay the property taxes and what have you throughout the 50 years. My father died, my mother died, and now it's just my 3 sisters and I. We're paying the taxes. The problem is that we would like to use our property for what we think our property will be best used for. I am the brother that Leslie spoke about who is disabled. And I have a very small part-time job. I live with my sister, so I don't have to pay rent. It's wonderful. I love my life, but it is not easy monetarily. So I would like to suggest that you would honor my father's wishes to provide for his family, for his daughters, and his son. I know that we're not allowed to use our property for things that are against the law, but we have supplied all the legal means, the legal realities of what needs to happen. I don't have a lot of facts and figures at my fingertips, but I'm here to just express what it is for me if this goes through. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. All right. Next up, we've got Mark Schartiger or Schartiger. Sir? Mr. Schartiger? All right, we'll come back.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay, great. I hope I didn't butcher your name too badly, sir.
No, you didn't. You actually got it right. Good evening, Your Honor. My name is Mark Schartiger, MarkSchartiger, and I reside in Bel Air, a subdivision on the east side of Dan's Mountain. I'm very familiar with the mountain, with my family previously owning about 3,000 acres, which went from 220 to the top of the mountain. I own a residence as well as operate a business in line of sight of this proposed project. I proposed this project for several reasons. First of all, Dan's Mountain is a focal point that is seen from almost any point in the county. While we are trying to promote the Mountain Maryland theme to our tourist visitors, it seems illogical to blight this view with the site of wind turbines. This view will be in sight from Martin's Mountain above Rocky Gap all the way to the Garrett County line. Second, it will have a devastating effect on property values. It's been estimated that almost 55% of the population in Allegheny County live within 2.5 miles of this proposed project. Having a 500-foot wind turbine hanging over your property will not be conducive for resale. The community I live in will have the turbines within a 1.5 mile distance, and with the elevation change, it will look much larger if that can be imagined. We have an elementary school in the neighborhood that is in direct sight line with the turbines, and being a little more than 2 miles away, we cast light flicker not only in the school, but the many homes that surround the facility. The last project of this kind in our area, 4 Mile Ridge, has left homeowners basically without any value to their homes. I urge you not to allow this to happen to us. Next, there is the issue of noise. Having lived in this area for about 45 years, I've observed that the Dan's Mountain area is very ambient and reflective of sound not only on it, but from the area surrounding it. I can hear trucks, heavy equipment being started from well over 4 miles from my home. In the winter, You can hear people talking from the rock on top of the mountain, even by being miles away. I read with some amusement the acoustic report that was compiled by the Windforce people and blatantly full of disinformation. The Service Commission has wisely turned down this project before. The only reason we are having this dialogue today boils down to one thing: lack of tax revenue to the county. The county took a hit when Verso, large paper mill and tax producer for the county, left the area about a year ago. County commissioners then saw fit to upend the current zoning board that affirmed the code home rule and replace them with members that were sympathetic with their desires to have the wind turbines constructed, having been promised about a $1 million windfall for agreeing to the terms. Their decision to proceed with the project was rendered within days after the hearing, making this decision somewhat suspect in my opinion. I ask you again today to deny this application for this project. It will only serve as a detriment to the growth of our county by ruining the tax base of the homeowner values in this area, much more than the gain from this project. It will destroy the value of our homes, being the largest asset most people have in their possession. It will ruin the scenic beauty of the county, as well as endanger the wildlife that make that area their habitat.
1 minute, sir.
Okay. In light of the economic situation this country is now in, it is of least importance to provide this firm with a permit that is beneficial only to their needs, all while ignoring the will and the desires of the majority of the citizens of Allegheny County. I respectfully ask you to again deny this application for this exemption. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
All right. Next up, we have Jim Robertson.
It was for some reason.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, sir. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Thanks for joining us tonight. If I could just get you to state your name and spell it, please.
Yes, my name is Jim Robertson. JIMROBERTSON.
Thank you very much, sir.
I'm a lifelong resident and taxpayer and a voter in Allegheny County, and I do support the approval of the wind project. I also live in Bel Air. This project is much needed because of the jobs that it will bring, as well as the taxes that will be given to the county and to the use of the kids in the school system. Since we have lost so many factories in the past years, I don't think Allegheny County is actually being noted as a job open for business county. I think this would be a great start to have the name as Allegheny County is open for business, not closing business. The revenues that we need because of the loss of these factories has been astronomical, and it's hurting the Board of Education, it's hurting the nonprofit organizations. And the worst thing that we don't want to have is to hear that they got to raise taxes. So I am in favor for it. I appreciate the opportunity to make my voice on this, and I hope the best for the county, and may God bless. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. All right, next up, we have Ms. Christensen Lewis. Ms. Lewis, you there? Ms. Christensen Lewis? Take your time. We got you.
I'm there.
Okay, if you could just state your name and spell it, please. I would be grateful, ma'am.
CHRISTENSEN-LEWIS.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. I appreciate being given the opportunity to testify on behalf of Kent Conservation and Preservation Alliance in Kent County. Let me do this. Sorry.
You're doing fine, ma'am.
Thank you for disregarding Dan's Mountain Windforce's request to a waiver of the public hearing for this application for a CPCN waiver. The request is, of course, an example of the ongoing disregard the applicant has for residents that would be impacted and foreshadows what actions would be expected in the future should the project be given a waiver. What we who feel our homes and communities are threatened with projects that are under the jurisdiction of the PSC to take away from this case should be the ruling to allow the CPCN waiver to be granted. I think the only thing we could surmise is that we are disadvantaged by a system that allows repeated end runs around valid PSC decisions by applicants with the financial backing until a way is found to defeat and crush us under the mountain of legal maneuvering and expense. The applicant in this case failed to make a persuasive argument to overcome the adverse impacts of this project. The Maryland Public Service Commission, having already given this applicant their day in court, should not now reward them for allowing them to once again be granted a waiver. The project was rejected by the Public Utility Law Judge and the Commission on Appeal, based on evidence that the benefits did not outweigh the negative impacts. Not even the conditions suggested by the PPRP were adequate to mitigate the detrimental impacts. That this 70 megawatt project with an abundance of complicated environmental and socioeconomic impacts could end up being approved without a CPCN and all the oversight that it entails should a waiver be granted is a legislative riddle. The county would be deemed to have the necessary expertise to oversee a project of this magnitude, but could not be trusted with a 2 megawatt solar project. Nonetheless, Dan's Mountain Windforce chose their path forward by withdrawing a previous waiver granted by the PSC to participate fully in the CPCN project process. They must now be given a chance. They must not now be given a chance for a do-over. That would be unfair and not just to the residents opposing this project. This case has significance to all people in Maryland, which is why KCPA is testifying today. We would like to believe that the PSC gives ordinary citizens an equal chance of prevailing if our case is made, that we can be assured that when we take the financial and personal risk to stand up for the protection of our homes, peace, and pursuit of happiness, that we will not have to repeatedly defend ourselves. That decisions and rulings mean something. I strongly urge that you do not grant a CPCN waiver and that the torture of the residents that would be most adversely impacted by this application can finally come to an end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. All right, next up we have Dan Cessna.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay. My name's Daniel Cessna, DanielCessna. And first, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to express my opinion tonight. And I am for the Dan's Mountain Wind Project. I'm a local construction worker, so I support the Dan's Mountain Wind Project for the local construction jobs that it'll support and the lasting maintenance jobs, because we need the jobs. And this is a clean, renewable energy, and it will generate much needed tax revenue for the Allegheny County. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet. And again, thank you for this opportunity. That's all I have tonight.
Thanks for joining us, sir.
Sure, thank you.
All right, next up we have Dr. Philip Bush.
Yep, I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yes, okay. Sir, we can.
All right, thank you. First initial C, Philip, Phillip, last name Bush. I work in a hospital. I'm an ethicist and director of spiritual care, and hope to bring that skill set to the county, work in the educational community as well as the medical community. We own almost 30 acres at the end of Barbers Hill Road in the Harwood section. We purchased it on 22 September 2017 after the Dan's Mountain project had been turned down by the Board of Zoning Appeals, so we thought it was complete. The reason we bought the property was because of the beautiful view and peaceful beauty of being surrounded by nature. We've invested significant amounts of money and time in preparing to move to the property. County required subdivision survey has been completed and permits for our driveway are approved. Since buying the property, developers, we learned that developers plan a wind farm, including numerous wind turbines in the immediate vicinity of our property. We spent a great deal of our own time attempting to comprehend the dimensions of the project, including by reviewing the affidavit and drawings recently submitted to the court by the developer's surveyor. According to the project boundaries, the southern boundary of our property would also constitute a project boundary. Our land would adjoin the project with 0 feet of distance between the two. The developer is proposing to build several turbines within our field of view. Based on the presentation of the developer's attorney that we witnessed during the zoning board's meeting last year, we believe that at least 5 wind turbines associated with the project will be plainly visible from our property, including from all the area of our property on which our home could be built. Not merely fan blades above tree line, but they will be visible from our property as full turbines from the ground up, including hundreds of feet of pedestal on which the turbine blades will be perched. Turbine 4, for example, appears to be placed on ground approximately 350 feet higher than our home site. This means that the 496-foot tower will appear from our home roughly equivalent to an 85-story building. This does not include the length of the blades. Turbines 1 through 5 will essentially be in our front yard. Based on our own research concerning the wind turbines to be built as part of the project, we believe that they will not only be overpoweringly visible from our property, but will be close enough for the sound of the turbines to be heard and the vibrations of the turbines to be felt both inside and outside our home. For the last 40 years, we have dreamed of retiring to the beauty and peace of the Appalachian Mountains. If this project is built, our dream will be destroyed. And I yield back the remainder of my time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bush. Appreciate it. All right. Next up, we have Mike Driesbach.
You did pretty good on that last name. Thank you for going through all the trouble of getting me hooked up. I appreciate it.
No, I'm just glad we were able to get you to join us tonight, sir. I apologize for any inconvenience.
Okay, first name is Mike, and it's really Michael, M-C-H-A-E-L. Last name is Dreisbach, D-R-E-I-S-B-A-C-H. And I live at 1600 Mount Etna Road in Frostburg, Maryland. And I guess as an I have to tell you, retired labor mediator who spent 20 years in the business all over America. And in that process, I learned a lot about power generation, whether it's fossil fuels or renewable energy. Today, I happen to own a small business, a couple small businesses in Garrett County. The biggest one is called Savage River Walk. We're a 4-season eco-tourism destination. And I will also tell you that this wind project, I've watched this wind project for 12 years. I am in total support of it. I absolutely think it's the right thing to do. And as we've been watching this one for 12 years, we've watched in Garrett County, we've watched 2 big wind projects take place. 4 Mile Ridge, which I sit right in front of. I look out my door every day and I see 4 Mile Ridge. And if it wouldn't be for 4 Mile Ridge and Backbone Mountain, little old Garrett County really big mess today because already we're $5 million in a hole. And with this eco stuff that's going on right now with the pandemic, I think that our little county is going to really suffer. Unfortunately, in Allegheny County, put all their eggs in a casino, and there needs to be some more opportunities down there. So I will tell you that the resort is 4-season. We've always been friendly. Actually, last month, I was really proud to celebrate the 50th year of Earth Day. I was one of those college kids on campus that helped start the very first Earth Day. And it was a really, really important thing for me because what I do know is over my 50 years, there's always trade-offs. There's always trade-offs. And I will also tell you that I'm a lifelong member of many organizations like Isaac Walton. Isaac Walton League is really, really super important to me. National Wild Turkey Federation, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, Trout Unlimited. We fought really hard to keep native brook trout protected in Garrett County. We have the only guide service and business that's sponsored by Trout Unlimited. I'm a member of Sierra Club for the last almost 30 years. And that's a few of the things that are really, really deeply rooted in what we do. We always support energy. I believe that as we've gotten older, it's our responsibility to our kids, to our grandkids, to make sure that we have a future. You know, what takes place is a site that we're talking about. When I went to Frostburg University almost 50 years ago, it was an abandoned strip mine. It was a mess. It was absolutely a trash heap. And for a long time, nobody wanted anything to do with it. And finally, people started to reclaim it, and then other people moved into it. 1 minute.
1 minute, sir.
Yep. We need to continue to support renewable energy. And I will say that if we keep burning fossil fuels in this country, we're going to destroy our future. I can tell you that we live in the middle of 800 acres. Today, we have crazy things like gray squirrels, Appalachian rabbits. We have porcupines. We've lost to goshawks because the climate has gotten so much warmer. And we have 100 less inches of snow than we used to have. But I strongly support this project from a renewable energy. From a future standpoint, Allegheny County would absolutely stand to benefit. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, sir. All right. Next up, we've got Catherine Russo.
Hello, I'm here.
Hi, ma'am. How are you?
SSO. Can you hear me okay? My mic is kind of flipping at me.
Yeah, I got you loud and clear.
Okay, good. We live on top of Loris, which is part of Dan's Mountain, and are about 2,500 feet away from 4 of the proposed wind turbines. We are currently concerned about the negative impact these 500-foot turbines will have on our health, the surrounding environment, and our neighbors in the nearby communities. We have visited similar turbines in the Somerset area of Pennsylvania and have heard the loud noise they generate and are horrified at the monstrous size of the turbines. Since we will be particularly close to 4 of the turbines, we have to multiply the sound by 4 and realize that the beautiful mountain setting that we moved to the area for will be destroyed. We both are retired police officers and have over 50 years of combined service in high-stress police districts. We retired to this area for the peace and tranquility that the mountain lifestyle provides. The community of Harwood is currently working with Dan's Mountain Solar to allow a solar farm to be built abutting our property. They currently have a valid CPCN and are addressing our concerns about the impact on the community and the environment. There are stark differences between the 2 projects that make the residents willing to allow the solar farm and to oppose the wind farm. The solar farm does not generate noise. The panels are only 8 feet in height. The bases are only dug a few feet into the ground, not affecting the groundwater, and there is no flicker or infrasound generated by the panels like there is from the wind turbines. The wind turbines would be firmly within 2,000 feet of the solar farm and could interfere with its operation. It ices up a lot in the winter in the area where we live, and the ice coming off the blades could damage the solar panels, and the flicker could interfere with the sun hitting the panels. The solar project is quickly becoming a reality, and there is not room in the area for both a solar project and a wind farm. We were informed by neighbors who had been fighting against the wind turbines for the past 11 years that the PSC had previously denied Dan's Mountain Wind Force a CPCN, and this denial was upheld by the Circuit Court of Baltimore. Now Dan's Mountain Wind Force is trying again to circumvent laws and ordinances in place to push their project through. They want this commission to go back in time and grant them an exemption based on the fact that they have local approval. This is not the case. The Board of Zoning Appeals did grant Dan's Mountain Wind Force variance and setback exceptions based on the 2015 case, but this is under appeal because the Board of Zoning Appeals did not use the guidelines provided by the Maryland Court of Special Appeals. The project is supported only by a few people who plan to benefit financially from its construction and operation. We feel that the residences and businesses of Allegheny County would be better served if the government sought to bring manufacturing back into the area with the availability of warehouses and personnel that are already in place for jobs that would be more permanent. The creation of jobs for the wind turbines would only be temporary during the construction phase, if they even use local workers at all, with a devastating impact to the environment, community, and landscape that make Allegheny County a unique part of Maryland. The year is 2020, and Dance Mountain Wind Force wants to get approval to build a project based on conditions 11 years ago. They did not get approval then and should definitely not get it now. There are more residents in the area that would be negatively affected by the wind turbines, as well as changed conditions to include new 911 towers that are now in operation and the aforementioned solar farm. More jurisdictions are realizing. Okay. More jurisdictions are realizing these negative effects and requiring larger distances between the turbines and residences. Based on this information and the previous denial for a CPCN, we respectfully request that this commission deny Dance Mountain Wind Force an exemption from obtaining a CPCN and further deny Dance Mountain Wind Force a valid CPCN to construct any wind turbines on Dance Mountain. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time and thank you for your service, ma'am. Thank you. Next up, we've got Matt Brewer.
Good evening.
How are you, sir?
Good. Thank you for having this hearing here this evening. My name is Matt Brewer, M-A-T-T-B-R-E-W-E-R.
Joining us, sir.
I'm a resident and business owner in Frostburg, Maryland. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the project. Our company here in Frostburg was heavily involved in the construction of 3 of the operating wind farm projects in next door Garrett County, Maryland, a county which, by the way, is currently receiving millions of dollars in annual tax revenue from those projects. In addition to the long-term benefits to the local and state government, short-term impacts associated with this project are even more significant to the local business community. In addition to the hotels, restaurants, suppliers, and so forth, a small support company like mine, a project like this represents a year of work for my entire company. All my employees who live, work, pay taxes, and raise families here in the local area. So as you can imagine, I take this very seriously. As everyone on this call is aware, the Verso paper mill in Westernport here in Western Maryland closed last summer. And as the months have gone by, the ripple effect of that closure has become more and more evident each day. It has been absolutely devastating to Western Maryland in terms of jobs, tax revenue, real estate values, and so forth. Because of my job, I am pretty in tune with what's going on in this county. And if there's another $100 million investment on the horizon for this community, I'm certainly not aware of it. This project is needed now, more than ever, right now. The applicant, over time, has carefully crafted a project which balances the rights of participating landowners with their neighbors, resulting in the greatest benefit with the least impact. Western Maryland community has a long history of exporting energy and other natural resources to the surrounding communities. And wind is certainly one of those natural resources which should be harvested and capitalized on as well. I strongly support this project and ask the Public Service Commission to approve the CPCN exemption as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, next up we have Elaine Ridenour.
Hello.
Hi, how are you, ma'am?
Good, thank you. My name is Elaine Ridenour, E-L-A-I-N-E-R-I-D-E-N-O-U-R. DENOUR. I have been involved in the fight against this project since 2008, 12 long years. I am a resident of Harwood Subdivision, located adjacent to the proposed Dan's Mountain Wind Farm, and a taxpayer of Allegheny County. I am opposed to the installation of an industrial wind farm in such close proximity to the established communities of Bel Air, Crescent Town, Harwood Subdivision, Midland, and Vale Summit. Issues such as safety, property value impacts, noise, and flickering light need to be thoroughly investigated prior to placement of these wind farms near residential areas. The potential negative impacts to families living adjacent to this proposed wind farm are significant and have already been experienced and documented in neighboring counties. Allegheny County Code 360-107 was passed on June 4th, 2009 to protect the safety and well-being of all Allegheny County citizens by providing additional protection for the public from the development of wind energy devices. Dan's Mountain Wind Force proposed an industrial wind farm that does not comply and sought a special exception and 26 variances to this code. Only the owners of 10 properties have signed agreements with Dan's Mountain Wind Force that will allow the construction of the turbines closer to their homes and properties than what is permitted by our county zoning regulations. This project will impact thousands of residents of Allegheny County, and it is not supported by all the landowners living near the proposed wind farm. As the Maryland Public Service Commission knows, this will be the third application for the same wind turbine project at the same location by Dan's Mountain Wind Force. According to your mission statement, the Maryland PSC is to ensure safe utility service to the citizens of Maryland, ensure that public service companies comply with established regulations, and create standards and policies that protect the safety of the public. Chief Public Utility Law Judge Terry Romine did just that when she issued a proposed order on January 25th, 2017, denying Dan's Mountain Wind Force a CPCN application because, quote, and I quote, construction of the wind project do not justify or offset subjecting the local communities to the adverse impacts that will result from the wind project's construction and operation, unquote. Her decision was upheld by the PSC and by the Circuit Court for Baltimore City. Since there were 3 court decisions against the proposed Dan's Mountain Wind Force project, the Maryland PSC should not even consider another application at this location for the same project. In closing, I would like to reiterate my position that I strongly oppose the construction of an industrial wind farm on Dan's Mountain. Any circumvention of our zoning regulations will diminish the existing property owners' rights, thus establishing a dangerous precedent that other industrial developers will most likely recognize and take full advantage of in the future. I believe that any legitimate development venture should be willing to subject their project to the established zoning regulations. I respectfully employ the Maryland Public Service Commission to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Allegheny County citizens and dismiss the application from Dan's Mountain Wind Force for wind energy generation facility in Allegheny County, Maryland. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, while I still have you, still there, ma'am?
Yes.
I'm not calling him now, but is Randy right now also nearby?
Yes.
Okay, great. He's on deck.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, next up we have Richard Leckleader. May have butchered that name. I apologize in advance if I did.
It's Richard Leckleader.
Leckleader. I'm sorry, sir.
That's fine.
My apologies.
It's Richard Leckleader, RICHARD LECHLITER. So I live in Ridgely, West Virginia, in Mineral County, and I am actually a Mineral County Commissioner. But this has great interest to me as well because Mineral County and Allegheny County are very close neighbors. Even though we have a river right between us, we have jobs across the river. We do shopping back and forth all the time. We do our recreational activities back and forth. So in fact, we're all in the Cumberland Metro statistical area. So we do benefit each other. And so with that in mind, I also mentioned that the Dan's Mountain Wind Force Group is principally the same members who had the Pinnacle Wind Group that I've been involved in for about 12 years, where the wind turbines built above Kaiser, and their continued work from that time on. So what I've experienced with that is the property owners benefited financially that owned property above there. They all still have access to their property. They comment how the hunting is better for those who like to go hunting. They have the ability just even to walk up there if they wish. And I had numerous tours since then to see how the growth has come back, how there are animals up there. So the habitat has regrown as an edge habitat, which is more beneficial to many animals. We had an increase in employment, both in our county and from the outside. Those who lived away that helped with our project used our hotels, motels. They ate at our restaurants and cafes. And of course, did all kinds of business. They'll go to Dollar General and to Walmart. So it was greatly a benefit to us. And even to this day, there's maintenance ongoing. And our hotels are always very appreciative of those members that come in to do maintenance on the wind turbines and stay and are very good guests of their hotels. The county revenue has been very good. In Mineral County, we have received hundreds of thousands of dollars due to a difference in tax structure with Maryland. I venture to say they'll gain millions of dollars in benefit to the county, which is for all their services as well as the Board of Education. The particular investment company working on this have invested in our community of Mineral County, and they did offer many grants along the way and continue to this day to present grants to nonprofits and many youth organizations. And we really greatly appreciate that every year that they give to our citizens and groups. There are contracts that are had out there that guarantee that we've had quality workers with our local workforce group and bring other qualified workers in. They meet all the standards for construction that needs to be done, and everything's monitored before they even started to the whole process. And now, years later, they're always monitoring to be sure that the environment is good, that the wind turbines are operating properly. And when needed, just as what's going to happen next year, the technology is advanced, so they're going to replace parts of it that will have better efficiency, and it'll be produce more energy for not just our area, but our whole country. Yes.
1 minute, sir.
So any problems that were encountered during the process of getting up to the point of construction and during construction, this wind force group was very good on meeting with people, explaining the situation, listening to all sides fairly. And so I propose that they are very good caretaker of this and that they should move forward with this project. It's a good form of energy that's environmentally clean. It is regulated properly and watched all the time. And the technology, as I said, is always improving. So please move this wind turbine farm forward for the good of Allegheny County, Mineral County, our 3-state area, and our country.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate your time tonight. All right, Randy Ridenhour?
Yes, sir. Could you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay. My name is Randy Ridenhour, R-A-N-D-Y-R-I-D-E-N-O-U-R. I'm a resident of Harwood Drive and am opposed to the approval of the Dan's Mountain Wind Force project. My wife and I chose to build our home 23 years ago in the Harwood subdivision because of the serenity and quality of life that the neighborhood would provide to our family. The decision to live in this community was not a careless one and required us to make financial sacrifices in order to provide our family a better quality of life. Best planning and sacrifices, David Friend and Jim Cookman of Laurel Renewable Partners are putting our decision and careful planning in jeopardy. They have made it their mission to install an industrial wind farm in the middle of 5 established communities and surrounded by hundreds of residential homes and properties. Over the past 12 years, they have shown no compassion for the established homeowners, nor the residents of Allegheny County that will be impacted by their proposed wind farm. They truly do not care about our health and well-being. You only need to look at our neighboring counties of Mineral, Garrett, and Somerset to learn of the hardships that have been imparted on those residents by inconsiderate placement of wind farms. The complaints by citizens living near these wind farms, the court proceedings, and gag orders that have occurred are all indicators of what is in store for Allegheny County in the very near future if this application for a wind energy generation facility is approved. I cannot understand why anyone would want to bring these problems to Allegheny County. An industrial complex of this magnitude does not belong in such close proximity to existing neighborhoods and residents. To put it in simple terms, this wind farm project violates the existing zoning law of Allegheny County. It does not fit within the available real estate, and it will impart hardships to the residents living close to it in the form of health issues, family stress, and degraded property values. The consequences of this proposed project far outweigh the benefits. In closing, I would like to say that this proposed wind farm project is all about greed. Take away the government subsidies, the lure of quick and lucrative financial return, and Laurel Renewable Partners would be forced to look for other financial opportunities elsewhere. Take away the campaign contributions that Laurel Renewable Partners made to our county and regional politicians to gain project support, and you most likely would find a group of elected officials that might be more interested in listening to their constituents and protecting them against a company that shows no concern about our county residents. Take away the small amount of money that is promised to a handful of landowners that signed agreements with Laurel Renewable Partners, and you would find that we would not be discussing this project at all. As you can see, this project has very little to do with green energy and mostly about monetary gain with no forethought as to the impact that it would have on existing residents. Laurel Renewable Partners' greed is so great that they have blocked out all compassion for residents that will be impacted by the project.
Got about 1 minute left, sir.
I can only hope that the Maryland Public Service Commission will once again see through their financial motives, their disregard for families living near the proposed project, and rule against the proposed project. We are counting on you to protect our health, our quality of life, and our family welfare against a very unnecessary and preventable outcome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. All right. Next up, we have Rodney Rice.
Yes, sir. My name is Rodney Rice, R-O-D-N-E-Y-R-I-C-E. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'm a lifelong resident of the area. I support the Dan's Mountain Wind Farm project. Allegheny County needs the employment and the tax revenue. I'm going to keep it short. Thank you very much for your time.
Fine, sir. Take your time.
Good. Thank you.
Done.
Oh, that's it? Okay.
Short and sweet.
Next up is Edith Bohannon.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
My name is Edith Bohannon. It's spelled E-D-I-T-H-B-O-H-A-N-A-N. The address, you don't need the address, right?
That's okay, ma'am.
Okay, I'm here to request the Dan's Mountain Wind Force application be denied by the Public Service Commission. I and my siblings inherited the property of 39.4 acres from our parents. It is located at 16706 Kens Lane, Frostburg, Maryland. We maintain a landline telephone in the event of emergency. We pay monthly electric bill and pay taxes on the property. The property was purchased by my grandfather over 60 years ago. The property is a family gathering spot for 5 generations. Approximately 28 family members, including spouses, children, and grandchildren of the owners, use the property on a regular basis. I spent my summers riding horses with my cousins, swimming in the pond, fishing, picking fruit, blackberries and blueberries and raspberries, and learning many valuable lessons from my grandfather. My daughter spent time with her grandparents on top of Dan's Mountain, fishing, hiking, and riding behind her grandmother on a four-wheeler. Now my daughter is sharing some of the same activities with her sons. I remember the first time I saw the property after riding up a dirt, rutted road for 2 miles. We emerged from the trees to an open field that rose to the blue sky. The pond shimmered in the cool breeze. It was a slice of heaven on earth. Fruit trees, apples and pears, grew in the open fields. A few of these heirloom trees still grow on our land. My grandsons pick the fruit every year and eat them without washing them, as they are no pesticides. The property changed after the coal company came in and strip mined. Trees were removed, and the fields the coal company created after the stripping were unusable. We had a natural spring that was lost as a result of mining. A well was drilled, but the water is not drinkable. It is used for washing clothes, showering, and gardening. Drinking water has to be purchased. Will we lose our well as a result of these? The coal company said they would make sure drinking water would be taken care of, but no one enforced the guidelines. When Dan's Mountain Wind Forest approached us offering money for us to sign a zoning variance, we held a family meeting and presented the offer to the group. Our family is not rich, but money won't be able to replace what we would lose in the beauty and serenity of our property. We also did research to find out what it's like to live within 2,000 feet of a windmill. As a result of what we learned, there was strong opposition and a unanimous decision to reject the offer. We also decided we would do whatever we could to oppose the plan. To allow this wind farm to bring these monstrous creations so close to our property is unconscionable. The constant noise and the strobe effect would be unbearable. Our property would be left unusable, ugly, and potentially dangerous. It would lose its monetary value. We would have 5 turbines in close proximity. I plead.
1 minute left, ma'am.
Thank you. I plead with you that Dan Mountain's application be denied. Otherwise, my property will be surrounded by wind turbines. This property is our heritage and it is our treasure left to my family. Please don't take this away from us. Who would want it? Would you want these turbines in your backyard? I don't think so. I doubt that the principals involved with this company have any of them close to their home. Please don't let them do this to ours. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, we have Sean Isgan, or Isgan. Sean Isgan, I-S-G-A-N. You there, sir? All right, we'll come back. Carl Belt.
Yes, I'm here. Can you?
How you doing, sir?
Fine. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am Carl Belt, C-A-R-L-B-E-L-T. I'm a lifetime resident of Allegheny County, Maryland, where for 43 years I've been the president of my family's general contracting company, Carl Belt Incorporated. The Belt Construction Group of Company employs an average of 150 employees, constructing public works buildings, infrastructure projects. We own and operate an asphalt plant. We complete highway paving and have a commercial industrial roofing division. I wish to convey my ardent support to the members of the Public Service Commission for the Dan's Mountain Wind Energy Generation Facility and my desire for the PSC to approve an exemption from the requirement to obtain a certificate of public convenience and necessity for the construction of this facility. Dan's Mountain Wind Force and its members have a track record of working with local, county, and city officials and residents on this project. They have worked consistently with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Maryland Department of Natural Resources, and the Power Plant Research Project throughout the course of this project development. My residence faces Dan's Mountain, and I have a great view of this mountain with the multitude of 20 communication towers that exist on this mountain today. It is no surprise that a small vocal group opposes this wind farm project. However, the majority of our county residents would like to see the additional $1 million in annual tax revenue come into Allegheny County. It is not every day that Allegheny County attracts a $90 to $100 million project that is expected to pay $1 million annually in Allegheny County property taxes. This project is important for Allegheny County and its citizens for the following benefits it brings to the county. It will create hundreds of construction jobs and a handful of well-paid operations and maintenance positions. It brings improvements to 4 community roads around the wind turbine site. It has clean air benefits. There is also spin-off business opportunities related to this. A long-term property tax revenue stream to the county and a visual improvement to the site that is pockmarked by existing strip mining and spoil piles. This is a win-win project for Allegheny County. Jobs, tax revenue, visual site cleanup, and clean energy. I encourage the commission to issue approval as soon as practical to allow construction to proceed and put people back to work. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you very much for your time, sir. All right. Next up, we have John Fichera.
Yes, sir, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Close on that one?
Yeah, you nailed it. That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you tonight.
See you.
Thank you. Tonight I stand in opposition or with Anchor.
Sir, before you start, can I get you to state your name and then spell it, please?
My apologies. John Michael Fetchero. John, John, last name Fetchero, Fetchero. And I'm an Allegheny County resident in the Bel Air community adjacent to this project, which I do have the county's map here, which I can just blow up and show here the turbines, and then my section will be here, so you can see where I'm being situated. I don't know if anyone can see this or not there, but so obviously I've got a lot at stake here. My quality of life is hanging in the balance here. And now, while I do respect and appreciate the time of Your Honor and the Public Service Commission, which again I have a high amount of respect for, I've worked with you, you folks on a number of different issues, but I am disappointed that we need to take the time away from our families again to discuss an issue that has been resolved many times in cases of litigation. To me, from what I can tell, the only facts in the matter that have changed are the changes to the Zoning Board of Appeals board members. I'll leave that right there. Now, while I believe in free enterprise, the question at hand is at what point does free enterprise and private property rights encroach upon one's neighbors and their subset of rights, including their inherent rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, the calls by those who clearly will profit directly from the project conveniently call the health risk and associated issues as hyperbole and rhetoric, to which I say one only needs to perform a basic internet or social media search for groups in opposition to wind farms. There are dozens of organizations scattered all over the world are pushing back against big green energy, the subsidies and those companies that are working in partnership to push those upon residential areas, being forced to inherently swallow this industrial level energy production, not a good fit for residential areas. And as this is a zoning issue, I believe this is the heart of the matter. For me personally, for my family, the reason we moved to the Bel Air community just over a year ago was to escape the noise and the artificial lights and the processes of the city that adversely affect the human biological condition. Yeah, I'm a light sleeper. In one fell swoop, this project single-handedly wipes out my investment I put into this home. I've invested over $100,000 just into this home, rehabbing it, building it up, boosting tax revenues, helping the neighborhood, everything. In one fell swoop, this project single-handedly creates widespread loss of property values and diminishing tax revenues, loss of developable residential and agricultural zoning, and the squandering of a quality of life that is admired and unrivaled by most. I mean, honestly, what I've come to learn here is it's been great and unrivaled by anything in this county. So it's a wonderful thing, and I don't want to see it disrupted. I think it was critical that we heard earlier tonight about the Pinnacle project in Mineral County, which is also run by the same folks at Laurel Renewables. And their turbines were being replaced for efficiency purposes just after 8 years. And it begs the question, thank you. It does beg the question, how long will these turbines last? What is their shelf life? When will wind energy itself become obsolete? It seems these structures twirling in the wind under unbearable weather conditions might not last that long. Who will be paying for their remediation or removal once we as a society move on from this technology? You just need to look at some of our streams like Braddock Run to see the effects of energy production aftermath in the form of acid mine runoff. And just as an example, I know at Lost Run and Kitzmiller Elementary, they use calcifiers to remediate those streams. That costs the state $150,000 annually. So that's someone who promised these counties and the state big returns, and then 100 years later, we're sitting here taking on the cost. So it's by this methodology and those unanswered questions, I must stand in opposition to the Dan's Mountain Wind Farm project. And again, I thank you very much, and I highly respect what you and the PSC do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments, sir. Appreciate it. All right, next up we have Jason Carpa. Mr. Carpa?
He's a member of our local.
Jason Carpa. All right, we'll come back. Cody McGuire. Mr. McGuire. Shane Strickler. I know Mr. Strickler had some issues with the invite. Mr. Strickler, are you there? He did email me. He just for the record, so it's clear, he is in favor of the project. With unemployment at an all-time high, we need every job available at this time. That was his message to me. Mr. Richard Blair. Richard Blair. Lawrence Wolf. Lawrence Wolf. All right, we will circle back. Mr. Friend, David Friend, are you there, sir? I'm not sure if I know you'd indicated you weren't planning on speaking, but I didn't want to skip over you entirely.
I'm here, sir.
Okay, did you want to make a comment tonight, sir?
I only wanted to be logged in case you had a question I needed to answer.
Okay, great. I didn't want you to think that I'd completely forgotten about you.
Thank you for thinking.
All right, we will circle back to those folks. Mr. Jenkins, Brian Jenkins, are you there, sir?
Can you hear me?
We can.
Hello? Okay, great. Brian Jenkins. That's BRIANJAINS on this WebEx in such a pandemic. Appreciate the opportunity to speak once again to convey to the PSC our thoughts, my thoughts, our neighbors' thoughts on yet another application by Dan's Mountain Windforce for a certificate of convenience. I say yet again because we before on occasions on this subject, by letter, in person, speaking at other hearings, and as Ms. Christensen Lewis said, we should not have to keep defending ourselves against this unwanted project. I thought, my neighbors thought, my fellow citizens thought that this was all settled. We thought that no meant no, but here we are again. So what has changed in the interim? Our zoning code changed. That is, the code that was put in place, as Elaine Ridenour mentioned, with the express purpose of protecting the citizens of Allegheny County from this exact sort of harm to our mountains, our animals, our neighbors, and even the proponents admitted tonight the effect that it has on a viewshed. That hasn't changed. The project hasn't gotten any smaller. Darlene Park mentioned how it's grown over the years. In fact, other municipalities that are thinking about putting regulations in place regarding industrial wind farms like this are actually putting in setbacks and separations that are much larger than the ones that we have in the code in Allegheny County. Because as time goes by, it's becoming more and more apparent the harm that these industrial wind farms do to people. In fact, Board of Health is wind turbines there, a public health nuisance. The project was last judged not to be in the best interest of the community is that we have a new board of commissioners elected. The citizens had no idea what they had up their sleeves. One previous speaker said that this is a popular project. There's a small group of people against it, and in general, the county's for it. Well, if that were the case, the county commissioners would have campaigned on that subject, but they never mentioned it because they knew it was a losing proposition. So we had no idea what they planned to do with the zoning board by completely replacing it and having the puppets overturn the previous zoning board's decision, which was based on the regulations that were put in place for that very purpose. Their logic, Cumberland Times News report was that other local municipalities have done it. So what can it do? Well, if that's the way the zoning board is going to do their job, I don't know why you have a zoning board. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I use the word secret. Like I mentioned, there was no mention wind farm turned around on the citizens during the campaign. And
One minute, Mr. Jenkins.
I don't think that it had been known what they were up to, and now it's too late. So the decision of the Public Service Commission is extremely important because it's basically the last line of defense we have. It's been mentioned that this project is needed. This project is not needed. I hope you've made note that just about every person who's in favor of this project has money going in their pocket, and that disregards the benefit to the rest of the community, the harm to the rest of the community. So I hope that you would consider all this and reject. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jenkins. All right, next up we have Winetta Howard. Ms. Howard, are you there? Winetta Howard. Welcome back. David Connor. Mr. Connor, are you there? Mr. Connor, I can see your name up there. Can't hear you though, sir. Mr. Connor? Anybody else hearing him? All right, we'll come back to Mr. Connor. Patrick Thomas.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can, Mr. Thomas. How are you?
Hi, how are you? For the
I'm
record,
well, thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Patrick Thomas, P-A-T-R-I-C-K-T-H-O-M-A-S. I'm an attorney with McLeod Law Group in Chestertown, Maryland. My colleague Chip McLeod and I represent Anchor, which is a nonprofit grassroots organization, many members of which you've heard from tonight, and whose members live in close proximity to this proposed project. And as you've heard, Anchor is steadfastly opposed, as is also well documented in the project's prior cases before the commission. We electronically filed a letter with the commission on May 15th, which we would respectfully request be made a part of the record of this proceeding. Our letter sets forth several issues with the commission's consideration of this application, which I'll just briefly outline here. In March 2009, the commission granted the applicant a CPC exemption for the project in case number 9164. However, the applicant was unable to obtain the necessary zoning approvals from the Allegheny County Board of Zoning Appeals. While its exemption was still valid, the applicant applied for a CPCN for the same project, case number 9413, under 7207 of the Public Utilities article, as a means of circumventing Allegheny County zoning laws and the Board of Zoning Appeals denials. At the direction of Public Utility Law Judge Terry Romine, the applicant ultimately chose to relinquish the CPCN exemption and proceed with the CPCN application, and that exemption ultimately expired. In January of 2017, Judge Romine issued a proposed order denying the applicant's CPCN application. Judge Romine in particular found that the slight economic benefits associated with this project did not justify or offset subjecting the local community, including Anchor's members, to the adverse impacts associated with this project, including the aesthetic impacts, noise, shadow flicker, and impact on emergency operations. In June of the commission issued order 88260, affirming Judge Romine's proposed order, including her findings associated with the project's adverse impacts, and also found that those adverse impacts could not be fully mitigated by incorporating proposed licensing conditions into the CPCN. Specifically, the commission stated that the benefits that may accrue to the public at large by construction of the project do not justify or offset subjecting the community to the adverse impacts that will result from the project's construction and operation. The commission also observed the potential collateral estoppel issue in the applicant using the CPCN process to circumvent Allegheny County zoning approvals for the project. And the commission stated, "We are troubled that an applicant would utilize such a strategy for substantially the same project when no significant time had elapsed or conditions had changed. Notwithstanding this potential collateral estoppel issue, we will proceed to decide this case on its merits." And now here we are again. And the same issues that troubled the commission previously haven't been addressed. And Anchor contends that case numbers 9164, 941, as well as the issues that were litigated therein, are final decisions, and that they preclude consideration of the pending application under the doctrines of res judicata and collateral estoppel, as we've outlined more fully in our letter.
1 minute left, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you. If the commission were to approve this application and issue a second CPCN exemption for the same project, it would set a dangerous precedent going forward that no denial of a CPCN exemption or even a CPCN application is ever truly final. Even if the commission is inclined to consider this application, there's no indication that any of the adverse impacts associated with this project as previously determined have been resolved. Accordingly, on behalf of Anchor, we respectfully request that the commission dismiss this application and this project once and for all. It's patently unfair to members of Anchor and others in the community opposed to this project to continue under the of uncertainty as to whether this project will ever be built. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Connor, are you there, sir?
You hear me?
I can now.
Okay, all right. I'm just going to say that first off, I'm requesting that you deny the application.
Sir, if I could stop you before you get going, can you just state your name and spell it for the record, please, sir?
Sure. David Connor, DAVID-CONNOR.
Thank you very much. I apologize for interrupting.
Okay. My wife and I live here on Dan's Rock Road near the top, up towards where the towers are. So we'll have a perfect view. We've got 27 acres up here that will have a perfect view of these towers when they go up. The people that are for the project, I understand that they have something at stake here. Some are paid are compensated in some way, shape, or form. That is to say, they represent an interest in the energy company. I will include any landowner, written or outside the project physical periphery, that received money for the project under the force of non-disclosure agreements for the land sale or proximity. And what I'm saying is that there are people that aren't going to tell you what their agreement is with the power company that have private property up here, and not as forthright as the fellow was from Waste Management. Anyway, for the people that want to do what they want with their property, I understand that. But when it has a negative impact on everybody around them, there seems to be that that has to be taken into consideration. And I appreciate if it would be by the Public Service Commission. The people against the project are not paid to be here. Except, my wife and I live at the top of Dan's Rock Road, and we're in the part of the physical peripheral area and of the local landowners that do not want to see the countryside littered with huge turbines, as has been done on Savage Mountain. I get to look at those all day long. Or have the liberties by our government stripped away under the pretense of for the good of all. I understand that Allegheny County has been in hard times, especially after we lost the paper mill last year. But I also worked on these projects for Bechtel all over North America, and I know what it takes to service them. I was a superintendent and ran these jobs. I know what it takes to service them. I know what it takes to put them up. And the amount of money that we would get in Allegheny County, aside from the tax money for this, would be minuscule compared to the losses that would do to the water, the aquifer in this mountain. They're going to come along the ridge line and dynamite and drill on down into the aquifer to put in their caissons and get those towers up. And you know, it's just something awful. Anywhere, let's see, nowhere. When I go to the sites, visitmaryland.org, Maryland's Office of Tourism website does not show pictures of wind turbines in Western Maryland mountains and suggest people come here to see them. Nor does it do that in the Allegheny County website, the www.gov.allconet.org, or on the mountain.
1 minute left, sir. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you. Or the Mountain Maryland webpage on Twitter. We are told that there are many benefits for the installation of the turbines. Will the locals receive substantially lower electric bills when the turbines stand? Will the taxes be cut substantially for the losses that they'll suffer through resale when these monstrosities are forced on them? I doubt that either will be considered. Will it be predetermined? Will it bring permanent jobs to the area? No, they won't. I know that. This is the type of project I was involved in. There'll be no lasting benefit to Midland, Maryland, and the surrounding areas. The blight that'll be left on the landscape with a constant low frequency. That's it.
Take a couple more seconds. You want to wrap it up, sir?
Okay. We'll have the constant low frequency sound of the blade rotation and the shadow flicker. What is to say that the future will come and the energy company will say we'll need more turbines. And I'm going to let it go at that.
Thank you, sir. And I plan on coming back around and see if anybody else wants a second bite at the apple. So if you've got more to say, stay tuned, I guess.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dawn Lindsay?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Okay. 1 second. My name is Dawn Lindsay, DAWNELINDSEY, and I have lived at 16341 Harwood Drive, Frostburg, since 1997. I am opposed to the construction of wind turbines on Dan's Mountain. Allegheny County government has a set of codes that are in place to establish guidelines for construction in our county. Society in general and citizens in this county take comfort in the rule of law, where they can reference in black and white what is allowed by law and what is not. The variances granted by the zoning board fall under a form of government that would be rule of man, which is arbitrary and changes at the whim of government. Rule of man governance causes stress, tension, and distrust of government. No variances should have been granted for this project. The code set out by the Allegheny County Commissioners needs to be followed to allow citizens the comfort of rule of law rather than the arbitrary whim form of rule of man we have fell under with the zoning board's granting of variances. Please deny the permit for the windmills and allow citizens like myself and my neighbors peace of mind knowing that the current codes and laws in place will be followed, so we have a consistent, uniform application of projects in our county. The Allegheny County Code that has been established should be followed, and when projects do not comply, they must be denied. This project was correctly denied by 3 government agencies because it did not comply with the county code. I oppose this project and ask that you deny this project again. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. William Miller?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
All right. My name is William Miller, William Miller. Myself and my wife and our 2 kids reside on Harwood Drive in the Harwood subdivision, which consists of about 70 homes. In 2008, I purchased 2 acres of land in Harwood, and then we built our dream home in 2009. After graduating from the University of Maryland, go Terps, I've worked as a mechanical engineer at the USPTO for 23 years, which is located in Alexandria, Virginia. My office allows me to work from home full-time, and although I could have located my family anywhere within the country, I chose my home place of Allegheny County. We purchased our property in Harwood because we wanted a larger lot in a wooded setting, while still having the benefits of living in a neighborhood where our kids could play. We enjoy the property's wildlife, its panoramic views, and its quiet nights. There's a distance of 2,660 feet lies between the back corner of my lot to the closest corner of the project property, and a distance of less than 3/4 of a mile lies between my home and the closest proposed wind turbine. These distances are a clear indication that I have legal standing in this case. I am deeply concerned for the health and welfare of my family. With the close proximity of the wind turbines, we will undoubtedly be exposed to noise pollution, shadow flicker, potential well water supply issues, and ruined views from the rear of my property. The value of my home in the entire Harwood subdivision, along with its scenic and tranquil beauty, is at stake. While I can argue the common sense point that the value of my property will obviously nosedive with a 500-foot wind turbine screaming overhead, Dan's Mountain Wind Force can argue the opposite, and you may choose to agree. But I do challenge Dan Mountain's Wind Force to provide a real estate listing which lists a nearby 500-foot noise-making strobe light as an amenity to the property. One argument Dan's Mountain Wind Force can't make and won't make is they cannot protect the health and welfare of the, is that there's no let me back that up. One argument Dan's Mountain Wind Force cannot and will not make is that there will be no adverse health conditions for the nearby residencies. Your primary job is to protect the health and welfare of the citizens of Maryland. I'm not against wind energy, but I am certainly against wind energy that comes at the expense of the health of my family. The proposed project is simply not an appropriate site for a wind farm development. Dan's Mountain Wind Force is attempting to fit a square peg into a round hole with respect to the location of the wind turbines, and the idea of sprinkling wind turbines on top of the subdivision is unethical, immoral, and irresponsible. At the Allegheny County Board of Zoning Appeals hearing back in October of 2015, the applicant stated that without the numerous variances it requested, which I believe actually is 26 variances, that's more variances than turbines, that it was not, quote, practically feasible to construct the project on this extremely limited envelope. Please, sir, protect the health of the homeowners and their families located in this extremely limited envelope we love and call home. Please deny Dan's...
1 minute left, sir.
Sure. Please deny Dan's Mountain Wind Force application from this exemption. And if at all possible, sir, please just end this nightmare and deny this application so that we can all rest and put this situation behind us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. All right, next up, we have Aaron Stark.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. All right, thank you. My name is Erin Stark, spelled Erinstark. Am strongly opposed to the Dan's Mountain Wind Force project and this application. I was both active in the county activity back in 2015, and I was an intervener in the PSC case in 2017. So I've had a long history with this project and have opposed it in the entire way. I think there's some definite frustration at this point that we're having this hearing at all. I appreciate the fact that you did allow for people to speak at this point, but I wonder, when does it end? How many times do we have to go through the same arguments? We went through this in 2017. Let me back up, 2015, in front of the county. I think our community was in shock somewhat at what was expected of us during that hearing. We came to the hearing without people that could go against Dan's Mountain. We didn't have expert witnesses. That was held against us recently in the 2015 hearing on the circuit court decision. In 2017, we were a little smarter as a community. So when we went before the Public Service Commission, we brought our expert witnesses. We brought interveners. We tried to work for the community and go forth. At that point, as you're clearly aware, Judge Romine held that the value of this project was limited, small economic value. That hasn't changed. The small economic value to this project hasn't changed at all. What has changed is we have a different county commissioners board that for some reason has interpreted incorrectly again. So that's a whole nother thing. We've got a case on appeal. The question is, when does it end? For the people that live up here, I live on Dan's Mountain. I live in the Harwood subdivision. How many times do I have to go through this? How many times do I have to take my life, derail my full-time job to then spend hours and time to fight this? It's, when does it end? Dan's Mountain will have unlimited dollars to fight against us. The citizens, as you're hearing them through the discussion tonight, these are people that are concerned with their homes and the value of their homes and just their livelihoods. The people that are speaking in support of Dan's Mountain, they're speaking because they're getting monetary value. They may not live anywhere near the project. They have no negative health impact. They don't live here. They're going to get a small economic value of a short-term job. We will have these wind turbines over our homes indefinitely. So as back in 2017, when I worked with the Public Service Commission, it seemed like these public hearings were great as far as letting us have a voice, but as far as being as persuasive in the case, not as much. So I'm here to say I oppose the project. If you decide to assign a case number to this, again, I will be an intervener along with, I imagine, as many people as we can involve to oppose the project officially and work through the many wickets of filing motions and everything else that goes with it. So hopefully you'll take a look at this and follow with what the McLeod Law Firm says, that this should end now and not be brought back to life. So I appreciate the ability to speak at this point. Hopefully we won't have to move any further.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Appreciate your comments. All right. Next up, we have Edward G. Giuliano.
Hello, Your Honor. Yes, Giuliano.
Giuliano, I apologize, sir.
No problem.
I was stressing about that. I wasn't sure.
No problem. I've heard much worse. Okay, my first name is spelled Edward. My last name is Giugliano. And tonight I'm going to talk about what kind of developer we have in Dan's Mountain Wind Force. I own a home in the Bel Air subdivision. I've owned this home since 1987. I am on the executive board of Anchor. I would like to talk about the noise aspect of the wind turbine, home prices, and the lack of community outreach by Dan's Mountain Wind Force. It is very concerning to me and my neighbors that there has been no attempt at community outreach by Dan's Mountain Wind Force regarding construction of this project. Most of my neighbors had no idea that a wind turbine industrial park was about to be built at the top of Dan's Mountain, about a mile away from their homes. There is no internet site for this project where people can find out more information, and their Facebook page only has a few updates, none of which concern noise. As you can imagine, people have lots of questions about the effects of this project on their lives. One of the biggest concerns is the potential noise pollution caused by wind turbines. Wind turbines generate noise, but all noise diminishes as one moves away from the source. Mr. David's friend and Dan's Mountain Wind Force have never offered any comments to allay our concerns that ambient noise levels will dramatically increase for residents of Bel Air after installation of these turbines. And I should note that I'm talking about Bel Air, but I also mean the other 4 bedroom communities that are going to surround this project. Since winds are predominantly from the west, the noisy end or the back end of the turbines containing the gearbox and the cooling oil fans will be facing Bel Air. Bel Air has an exceptionally quiet level of background noise. And being a migraine sufferer, I find this level of quiet extremely comforting. Our quiet neighborhood is a resource, a net benefit to the county. It's increasingly hard to find, and it's at risk from this project. Will we be able to hear the wind turbines in Bel Air at 1 mile? We don't know. They've never told us. They never told us it will. They've never told us it won't. Dan's Mountain Wind Force knows we are concerned about this, but they have never offered us any assurances that the local noise levels won't be objectionable. Therefore, I must conclude that ambient noise levels will be increasing for us if this project proceeds. This will have a negative impact on our community, possibly on our health, and if there are sleep disturbances on our health, and on potential home sales. And speaking of home sales, people living near the wind turbine facility have modest incomes, and their homes represent their largest single investment in most cases. Most wind turbine developers will present studies showing that living next to a wind farm will not depress property values. But realistically, building a 500-foot tall wind turbine on top of a pristine mountain and not expecting home prices to decrease is just wishful thinking. At a county commissioners meeting in January, I presented the above and was told we would arrange a meeting with Dan's Mountain Wind Force and Bel Air citizens. To date, nothing has happened. Dan's Mountain Wind Force has found a way to circumvent our local zoning laws. They've influenced our local leaders with the promises of easy money, and they have found a way to overturn previous legal decisions. It's obvious that no one in our local government will stand between us and a future filled with wind turbine noise. So, Your Honor, and the Honorable Public Service Commissioners, you are our last chance to stop this project. Please dismiss the request by Dan's Mountain Wind Force to build a wind turbine facility atop Dan's Mountain. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate your time. Next up, we have Dana Heights.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Dana Heights, D-A-N-A, last name H-I-T-E-S, and with me is my mother Dolores Heights, D-O-L-O-R-E-S, H-I-T-E-S. I will be making a statement for both of us.
Okay.
We live in LaVale, Maryland. We are residents of Allegheny County. Thank you, Your Honor, for holding this meeting. As we sit here, we can't help but think, here we are again. In 2015, we attended the public meetings held by the PSC in Allegheny County where we spoke in opposition to the Dan's Mountain Wind Force project on Dan's Mountain. We also attended the marathon 3-day Board of Zoning Appeals public hearing, of which Dan's Mountain Wind Force employees and contractors took up 2.5 days of the hearing. In preparation, we did research on wind farms and wind energy. We read the county code, which imposes minimum requirements that Dan's Mountain Wind Force still could not meet for this project. We spoke and provided information at the BOZA public hearing. We waited and prayed, and when the 2015 BOZA ruling was made public, we knew it was the correct ruling for the county when they denied the variances. We've kept up with the continued appeals and maneuvering by Dan's Mountain Wind Force LLC and Mr. Friend to try to get the project built. No matter what the residents in the area say, no matter who rules against them, no matter the county code, no matter even if the PSC ruled against them, Dan's Mountain Wind Force will see that wind farm shoehorned onto Dan's Mountain or else. And we must ask the simple question, why? I reviewed the U.S. wind resource map, and it showed there wasn't much wind to be had in Allegheny County. There's some at the very top of Dan's Mountain. The wind resource still isn't good on the mountain, which is why the proposed wind farm turbines are over 5 stories high. The size of the wind turbine is directly related to the existence of wind available at a location. The bigger the turbine, the lesser the available wind. That is what I discovered in my research. Furthermore, I also discovered the way in which wind farms are erected. First comes demolition. It is required to clear-cut the land. No trees or shrubs are allowed to stand. It is akin to clear-cutting of forest for tree harvesting, which conservationists have always abhorred. There must be no obstruction for the turbines, no possibility of interference. All the animal habitat and beauty is destroyed. I drove up to a wind farm in our west of us and drove right up on the mountain, and it had been clear-cut. It was ugly and scarred. We visited Dan's Mountain. There was a lot of commentary from Dan's Mountain Wind Force about the mining, how the mountain wasn't old-growth trees. We wanted to see for ourselves. We saw mature, large, tall trees, nice undergrowth, nice homes, wildlife of all varieties. It was beautiful. Clear-cutting 2,000 acres in and around residential homes to put up spinning turbines that are over 5 or 6 stories high. That massive project will destroy those 2,000 acres. And no matter what Dan's Mountain Wind Force is paying the people asking for the variances to push the project forward, that wind farm should never be shoehorned in among residences just because Dan's Mountain Wind Force is determined to build it and show any citizens of Allegheny County that they don't have the right to stop Mr. Friend from getting what he wants. He can outspend us. He can donate to politicians and change the elected people making the decisions. And if he just keeps appealing and pushing, eventually we all run out of money or people move away or die and he finally gets what he wants. But the only money to be made is from federal and state subsidies and the sale of the wind farm, which he had already planned. What we want to know is simple. How many more years do we have to keep arguing this same project? What the wind farm will do to Dan's Mountain and the residences on the mountain and around it is wrong, will always be wrong, simply because a wind farm does not fit in that location. There are wetlands, endangered species habitats, endangered species, residential homes, vacation homes, and tourist activities. All of that will be negatively impacted and possibly even lost. And the project will only provide minimal energy and only temporary jobs for a short amount of time. But the lasting detrimental effects will be with us for decades. How many bites at this apple does Mr. Friend get? This has been going on for over 11 years now. When can we finally say it is done? The new BOZA was wrong to not follow the court's instructions and to merely side with Dan's Mountain Wind Force because of their personal desires and not what is right for the county and the county residents long term. I humbly ask that you please deny Dan's Mountain Wind Force's application for a CPCN exemption. Thank you, and I yield back my
And
time.
I asked for an exemption also.
Yeah,
I'm
my mom
divorced.
too. And we yield back our time. Are you there? Hello?
Oh, yes, my apologies. I forgot to unmute myself. Thank you very much, ladies, for your time tonight. I apologize.
That's okay. I just thought I had said all that for nothing.
Oh, no. I heard every word of it. My apologies.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir.
Have a great night.
You too.
Next up is Jim Taylor.
Hello.
How you doing, sir?
Good. My name is Jim Taylor, JimTaylor. And I live in the Bel Air subdivision. Like most people, my home is the largest investment of my lifetime. And allowing the turbines to be shoehorned into our 5 communities, in my opinion, is just plain wrong. I'm asking you to save our homes, our investments, because we'll lose property values, our view sheds, because that's really the main reason we live here. It's beautiful, majestic, and it's peaceful. Also ask you to save our communities. These turbine companies have deep pockets, and they seem to get endless appeals. They have what's called the wind turbine playbook, which I came across on a website that said the fight is a marathon. You just keep pushing and pushing and throwing money at it. Eventually, you'll get what you want. The reason we purchased our home in the Bel Air subdivision is the majestic beauty and calm serenity of Dan's Mountain. Dan's Mountain is truly the dominant feature in our county. You can see it from any point in the county. Let me see here. We've lived here for the past 31 years, raised our children here. Our granddaughter lives here, and we're looking forward to retiring here. Dan's Mountain Wind Force has one thing in mind, and that's the government subsidies. The turbine companies will usually they'll make agreements with people on their, for their land to put turbines on. And the day they go online, they sell. And those contracts are null and void except for the gag orders. I spoke with a gentleman from Mount Storm, and he was very upset. This was at a county commissioners meeting regarding the turbines. The turbines they want to put up on top of Dan's, which is the tallest feature in our area, are taller than the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C. So Dan's Mountain will no longer be our tallest feature, our most visible feature. It will be the wind turbines. Literally, they will turn Mountain, Maryland into wind turbine, Maryland. And just to show you how arrogant these people are, they're already stockpiling turbine parts on Route 36 between Frostburg and Dan's Mountain. Dan's Mountain is also part of the Mountain Ridge Rural Legacy Area. The description on the website says it's situated within the Ridge and Valley Physiographic.
About 1 minute.
1 minute. Okay. Well,
but sir, you're going to have another chance to come back around. So
okay. Forbes magazine writer Jude Clement talks about do wind turbine lower property values, and it says a key point of the contention against wind and solar farms is that they require a larger amount of land to generate the same amount of electricity, an important downgrade of their greenness that goes conveniently ignored. Wind is naturally intermittent, and plants typically operate at 25% of full capacity compared to coal and natural gas operating at 90%. Perhaps most importantly, wind farm flickers make noise, cause health problems, and can be visual intrusions. So their impact on property values, especially as wind power grows, is increasingly concerning. So I ask you to please deny the request for variance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Ann Bristow.
Thank you, Judge McLean, for this opportunity. Ann, A-N-N, B-R-I-S-T-O-W. I respectfully ask the PSC to deny this CPCN. I live 2 miles west of Allegheny County in Garrett County, Maryland, where there is no zoning. in fact, we're the only county in Maryland without zoning. I live 1/4 mile from the 4 Mile Ridge Industrial Wind Turbine Project and own farmland 200 feet from the base of one of 16 of these turbines. There are no setbacks, again, because we have no zoning. I observed all phases of construction of these turbines, including filing a complaint with the Maryland Department of Natural Resources for illegal clear cutting within a stream buffer And DNR determined that there was a permit violation and did not find the turbine developer. And at that point, there's nothing you could do to replace all that stream buffering vegetation. This project would be constructed and operated within the same context of weak or ineffectual enforcement of Maryland and federal regulations designed, and in this case, particularly to protect water quality. I'm up on Savage Mountain. We have the same issues with drainage that they would have with Dan's Mountain. Setbacks are established to protect public safety and health. This project asks for a zoning variance that would significantly diminish these protections. Public health harms have been documented. They are actual harms, not perceived harms. These harms are notably infrasound, blade flicker, and pressure changes. As with some other causes of health harms, not all people are affected equally. You see this with individual differences in sensitivities to allergens. Some people react to ragweed, others do not. Similarly, some people are sensitive to pressure changes, light flicker, and/or infrasound. The air pressure changes occur with rapid blade sweeps. Research on bat mortality shows that the greatest cause of death is not from flying into the blades, but from internal organs exploding with pressure changes. It should not be surprising to us that some people have sensitivities and are experiencing headaches from these pressure changes. We bought our farm with the thoughts of moving there, either us or our children. This is the place 200 feet from the base of a turbine. This is no longer an option due to noise and flicker. In our current residence, 1/4 mile away from these turbines, if prevailing winds are in the direction of our home, we can hear the blades even in the winter with closed windows and well-insulated 6-inch studded walls. Denying the CPCN does not stop clean renewable energy projects nor the economic benefits that would accrue from them. There are numerous community, commercial, and industrial solar projects currently underway in both Allegheny and Garrett counties. By denying the CPCN, the PSC would stand on the side of legally enacted zoning regulations designed to protect human health and safety. Economic development and public health need not be in opposition. Our
About 1 minute, ma'am.
Our history of health harming energy development has not contributed to either economic health nor human health in our area. Thank you, Judge, for this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, next up, we have Mark Deckers.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Your Honor, for first of all, for hosting this and hurting all of us cats. You're doing quite a good job to, with this kind of the situation we're in and the meeting that we're having. So we all appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
The issue that you're hearing tonight, and
if I could just stop you, if I could get you to state your name and spell it for the record, please.
Sure, sorry. Yes, Mark Deckers, MarkDeckers.
Thank you very much, sir.
I'm a resident of the Harwood area, and I am opposed to the Dan's Mountain Wind Force project and request the PSC deny the application. The issue that you're hearing is it's an issue. It's not a political issue. It's not it's really not even an economic issue when you evaluate the true economics of the pros and cons, the short-term economic versus the economic costs. It really comes down to science based off the health, the impact to health of people, and also the science of what happens to the communities. One thing that's been talked about a little bit has been the impact to water, and I want to emphasize something in there. The Allegheny County Zoning Code 360-107, subsection E of that code, addresses a groundwater protection bond. Further, that bond only covers occupied residents within 1 mile of a thing. So most of us get our water from well water and groundwater. The location where these wind turbines will be going is in an Appalachian Plateau region, which is by science is defined as a region defined by fractured rock, which is not highly pervious and does not contain a very good recharge area. Recharge is where the rainwater enters into the aquifer. The recharge area in this case happens to be where the wind turbines are going to be located. So you're going to have 40 foot by 40 foot concrete blocks blasted into the earth, which affects the rock formation that's there now, and is going to block that water from entering the aquifer. So there is going to be a water problem. Everyone that lives in this Harwood knows that when a new home is drilled, someone's well is impacted one way or another. So we know it's going to happen. Our concern is that Allegheny County and Dan's Mountain have zero risk mitigation plan to address this issue. If Allegheny County has to bring water in here, it's certainly going to be more than that $1 million that they think that they're going to bring in. It was a project that was evaluated in about 2009, and the county wrote it off because of the cost at that time. And you would have to go to the county. We are not privy to that information of what was shared. So our concern there is I just wanted to bring up the concern about the water there. It was mentioned that there's a small group in opposition, and as you're hearing, for the past 12 years, it's been a large group and it continues to grow. So again, I would respectfully ask that you deny this application that Dan's Mountain Wind Force is requesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. All right. Next up, we have Joy Taylor.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Okay. Hello, I'm Joy Taylor. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. It's JOYTAYLOR. I'm against the application and object to the Dan's Mountain Wind Force project. And I just want to say thank you to all of you who have spoken so eloquently and factually tonight about the negative impacts of these wind turbines on Dan's Mountain. Your stories are heartfelt. Well done to you all. I've lived on North Bel Air Drive in the Bel Air community for 31 years. I've been an active resident, raising my children here, raising my grandchild here, working a full-time job here, serving as a volunteer in a variety of capacities here, as well as providing lots of money every year into tax rolls. My husband and I have always planned to live in this house that we've made into a home until the end of our time. Well, until this wind farm proposal reared its ugly head once again. Our community has repeatedly battled corporate power over the location of these wind turbines numerous times, and it's so disappointing that it continues to require time and energy of the residents and the members of the Public Service Commission. I respectfully request the denial of the Dan's Mountain application by the PSC for these reasons. These wind turbines will negatively impact the quality of our lives with noise, light flicker, and other unhealthy side effects. These wind turbines will negatively impact our property values. The natural beauty, the wildlife, and the other resources that Dan's Mountain offers is invaluable to my family and I. We do not want to see it destroyed. Again, I'm requesting that the denial of the Dan's Mountain application by the PSC. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you.
Let's see. Mr. Wolf, are you there, sir? Lawrence Wolf?
Yes, sir.
All right. I think we may have missed you the first time around.
I couldn't get it off on mute in time.
No, I apologize about it. It's hard to tell how quickly to go, to proceed, but I appreciate your patience, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. My name is Lawrence Wolf Jr., LAWRENCE I'm an Allegheny County resident, as are my 3 children. I'm also president of the Western Maryland Building and Construction Trades Council in LaVale, Maryland. I am in support of Dan's Mountain Wind Force project and support their application for the CPCN exemption. The Western Maryland Building Trade supports a broad energy policy, including energy derived from clean and renewable sources. As previously mentioned, Maryland continues to increase the renewable portfolio standard, which is scheduled to increase to 50% over the next decade, with a goal of 100% by the year 2040. Projects such as this are a vital piece of meeting those renewable goals and standards. The Western Maryland Building Trades represents approximately 2,000 men and women working in the construction industry in the 3 western counties of Maryland. Our workforce is highly trained and skilled and has performed millions of man-hours constructing wind turbines in neighboring counties in the tri-state over the past several years. At least 75% and up to 90% of the construction workers on these nearby wind projects have been performed by local workers. Those man-hours have translated into millions of dollars in wages, healthcare contributions, and retirement contributions for local construction workers. And this project will provide approximately 150 construction workers. Lastly, this project is an excellent economic development project for Allegheny County with private financial investment of approximately $90 to $100 million, which will generate approximately $1 million annually in new Allegheny County property tax revenue. As we previously heard, this would make Dan's Mountain Wind Force the 3rd largest taxpayer in Allegheny County, which has suffered and is even more in need today since the closure of the Verso paper mill in 2019, as well as the current and certainly future fallout from the coronavirus pandemic. Again, I am in support of Dan Mountain application for the CPCN exemption. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate yours. And again, my apologies if I jumped over you too quickly.
No worries.
All right. Take care. Have a good night. All right. I'm going to circle back and call some names that signed up but didn't respond. Maybe I jumped over them too quickly. We've got Sean Isgan, Jason Carpa, Cody McGuire, Shane Strickler, Richard Blair, and Winetta Howard. Anybody out there by those names? All right. Is there anybody that's still on the meeting that I skipped or would like to speak that has not spoken yet? All right, hearing none, I'm just going to start going back through my list. I'm assuming some people still want to speak since we've got about 33 people still on the line. You know what? I'm actually just going to start and go top to bottom here. Miss Lindsay, Dawn Lindsay, would you like to have another bite at the apple briefly?
No, sir, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Miss Bristow.
No, sir. I have been able to say what I need to say. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Mr. Belt. Mr. Belt, would you like another opportunity? Dana Heights.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you there? Okay.
We are.
I just have a couple of points from listening to other people.
And ma'am, can I just get you to state your name and spell it again, please?
Yes, of course. Dana
you, ma'am.
Heights, DANAHITES. As I listened, what I kept hearing was everyone who seems to be for the project either stands to make money or is receiving payments of some kind. And I would like to also point out that Dan's Mountain Wind Force, they cite their studies and so forth about how it's not going to impact, it's not going to do this, it's not going to do that. Those studies are now over 5 years old, and things have changed in that time. I also would like to state that there are health impact studies that have been performed for wind turbine wind farms, and they're finding it is dangerous to humans to have wind farms too close to residential areas. And finally, there are far more promising clean energy alternatives that don't destroy the environment. And one of those is hydro, but the other one is thorium nuclear energy, which is much safer than the uranium. So, and it has a much smaller footprint and provides a whole lot more energy. And right now, I got from Potomac Edison the breakdown of where our energy comes from. There are wind turbines all around us, and yet there's only 2.90% of the energy provided is from wind. That does not seem like we're getting a good return for all of that destruction. And the bills are always going up. And that's all I had to say, sir. Thank you so much for letting me just make a few points.
Absolutely, ma'am. Let's see, Mr. Tibbetts. Mr. Tibbetts, would you like another? I can see him standing there. All right, Mr. Connor.
Thank you. I'm fine.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. Ms. Bohannon.
Yes, thank you. I have nothing else to add at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to mispronounce this again. Mr. Giuliano, or Giuliano, I think you know who you are, sir. I'm sorry.
Hi, yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Yes, I just have a couple of points.
My apologies again.
In regards to the tax revenue that we're getting from this project, I was at the Allegheny County Commissioners meeting in January on the 14th, and there was a presentation by a group within the county that is looking to be in full compliance with the U.S. Census that's happening this year. And they said that we could get over $12 million from full compliance with the census. And I think 10 years ago, we left as a county over $6 million on the table. And Allegheny County said that this project will bring in $9 million. Well, most of that could be made up just in census revenue if we focus on full compliance with the U.S. Census and get full cooperation from everybody. And also the governor's goal for green energy. I believe there was a study by the Maryland Energy Administration, the MEA, that said that the best chance for meeting that goal is in offshore wind farms, not mountain wind farms, where I think most of the best resources have already been exploited. So putting those wind turbines offshore is probably going to give us the best bang for our buck in terms of meeting the green energy goals. And if this was a solar farm on top of Dan's Mountain, we'd all be doing something else right now. We wouldn't even be having this hearing. So hopefully they make this a solar project instead of a wind project, and we can all go on about our business. So thank you, Your Honor. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Ms. Stark. Ms. Stark, are you there, ma'am?
Yeah, I was trying to work the video thing. It's not working so well for me right now.
It's okay.
So we'll go with audio. Yeah, I completely support everything that Ed said a few minutes ago. Thank you for allowing us to at least voice our opinion in this stage. If there's any thought from the PSC as far as moving forward with this, I would request that we be allowed to again engage as interveners or any other role that you allow us. It's very weighty for our community to continue to fight this. I am shocked that we're continuing this fight, that it didn't die and basically go with what the PSC ruled before. So I hope you take this into account, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Stark. Haley Lindsay, I'm not sure if you spoke the first time or if you'd like to speak now.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I am a resident of the Harwood subdivision, and I would also like to...
Ma'am, can I just get you to state your name and spell it, please?
Yes, it's Haley Lindsay, Hayley, Lindsey.
Thank you.
Yep. I would just like to express that I'm in opposition to the project, as I am a resident of the area that would be greatly impacted by it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lindsay.
Yes, thank you.
Got someone next with the initials HP. Or,
Thank you for your consideration. I don't have anything else.
okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Taylor?
Hey, yeah, just a couple minor things I'd like to say.
Yes, sir. If you can just state your name again, please.
Sure. Jim Taylor, spelled Jimtaylor. Okay. Dan's Mountain is solid rock. Being solid rock, it has a very high snake population. Okay, it includes the eastern copperhead and the timber rattlesnake, which is on Maryland's watch list. When you blast 4-acre pads for each of those turbines, that's going to send the snakes scattering. And what doesn't scatter while the blasting is going on, because they'd have to, for 17 turbines, they'd blast 68 acres off the top of Dan's Mountain. These snakes have to go somewhere. So the closest location would probably be Harwood, and beyond that would probably be Midland and then Bel Air. And, you know, we've got pools, we've got a school, we've got resort areas like Dan Mountain State Park, Dan Mountain's pool, the Bel Air pool, playgrounds where children play, and then we have baseball and soccer fields that are used all the time. That's one of the things. The other thing I wanted to say about was decommissioning fees. Dan's Mountain Windforce does not want to pay decommissioning fees, and that's to pay to have those taken down. He wants to push that off to the public, to the people who don't want the turbines to go up in the first place. We would have to pay to take them down at the end of that, and that's a tremendous hardship on an already poor county. Let me see, we'd have decreasing property values and increased power bills, because when a wind turbine area, wind farm goes into an area, the public has to pay for the transfer stations. So our electric bills will go up when green energy comes in. So, you know, being a poor county, I'm dead against it. And if you Google people who do not want to live near wind turbines or why, there's an area called StoriesUSATodayNetwork.com, wind farms and in your own words. And I'm going to read the very last one just to let you know. There are hundreds of people that write in this thing, and it's in their own words. It says the turbines kept them up that first night, and the night after that, and the night after that. That first night I slept maybe 20 minutes, Tony said. I put a pillow over my head and wore earplugs. It vibrates the whole atmosphere. You can feel it in your body. It went like that for nearly 2 years, the Britons said. I thought about cutting them down with a chainsaw, Ed said. They're the worst thing you could put in a residential neighborhood. And that's what they're trying to do with us. So please dismiss Dan Mountain's Windforce application for exemption. Thank you very much.
Mr. Taylor. Mr. Ficero?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Would you like another bite at the apple briefly, sir?
Sure, why not? I appreciate your time. And
again, just if you could just state your name and spell it one more time, please.
Yes, sir. John Fetchero, JohnFetchero. I'll just add. Thank you. I just had a quick point, something I wanted to add just at the end of my last my turn. Was that a gentleman had noted that the area was known for its energy exportation and whatnot, a valid point, but the area is also known for its natural resources and human capital exploitation all through the Alleghenies, especially our neighbor to the south, has really seen some environmental disasters, some disasters of human condition. Yesterday marked the 100-year anniversary of the Battle of Matewan. I think that's just important to note, and that's a real study in corporate fascism, you know. And I think we should look at moments like that in our history and understand where we are with certain issues. And so I think I'm just asking for the PSC's focus on the private citizens that live here. And I know you folks always treat the citizens of the state of Maryland very fairly. So I thank you, and I thank you for your time, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, Joy Taylor, would you like another chance to make a comment or two, ma'am?
Hi, yes, Joy Taylor, JoyTaylor. Just thank you again for the opportunity to have this forum tonight, and please deny the application for the Dan's Mountain Wind Force project. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Wolf?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. I've got, there's a Mark, and it's not Mark Deckers.
I'm going to mess up his name. Mark Schartiger.
It just says Mark right now, so it just on my list here. So there he goes. He unmuted.
I'm here.
All right, would you like to? There you go, sir.
You didn't butcher it too as bad as mostly everybody else does. So it's Mark M-A-R-K Schartiger, Schartiger. And first off, I want to thank you, and I think you must have a crew back there working these computers because you're doing a good job.
I'm a crew of one.
There you go. Good for you. But thank you for this opportunity. This went way better than I had assumed it would. As
it's two of us.
Yeah. I think it became apparent to me. I listened to the entire, this presentation for about the past 3 hours, and it boils down to two things. It's the quality of our lives that the people that live in Allegheny County and are going to be affected by this turbine, as opposed to the monetary issue. Everybody that spoke on the behalf of the people that were for the project had some monetary gain in mind, but they neglect to remember that our quality of life is going to suffer greatly when these turbines go in, not only with the sight of them, but the health benefits or the health detriments that these things cause. I think that that was one thing that came very apparent to me about this whole conversation this evening. And in closing, I hope that you do not allow this to go on. And once again, I do appreciate your time and the forum that you allowed us to speak on. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Deckers.
Nothing further, and thank you for your service, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. I believe it's Matt Brewer.
Nothing further at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Thomas, Counselor, another comment or two?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got two individuals that are just named owner. I'm not sure if I don't know if they spoke initially or not, if they'd like to speak now. If not, that's fine. There's an individual named Philip. All right. Robert Diesel. Well, I think that's the end of the list. It is almost 9:30. I would agree with Mr. Schartiger's. Yes.
Somebody's raising their hand.
Dave Tibbetts, I missed my turn somehow.
Oh, okay. There you go, Mr. Tibbetts. How are you?
Pretty good. All of the
I saw you wandering around back there.
I had somebody cleaning my house.
If you could just state your name and spell it again, please, sir. Thank you.
David Tibbetts, Tibbetts. I just wanted to say that everything down, it's like citing alternative energy sites, particularly wind turbines, is basically like real estate. It's location, location, location. I belong to the Sierra Club. They're in favor of alternative energy nationally. But even their documentation says it still comes down to location-specific issues. In this case, it's just a lousy neighborhood, literally a lousy neighborhood to put a wind turbine in. I would also add that Michael Moore, we all know, I would ask you to judicially recognize him as being the Trump's favorite whipping boy, but he's just come out with a new movie called Planet Earth, which is also upsetting the environmental community because it's looking at the true cost of life cycle energy, basically for these wind projects in particular. So I would suggest that you consider it's a balancing test, and it's like whatever target for there's two balances. One is obviously between the certificate of public need, et cetera, and to the community versus the impact on the residents. That's been decided once. I'd urge you to continue that decision, but also it's like the other one is the alternative. The cost of the energy is, I'm not really sure how clear, how honestly or dishonestly, I don't know, the cost of the energy versus the total life cycle cost of the project versus the money, the revenues that come in from the power generation in terms of meeting the public need and also the county revenues. I'm still unclear on that. So I'd urge you to also consider that. And speaking as in Bel Air, I really don't want it's bad enough I have to share the same mountain with rattlesnakes and copperheads, but I don't really want them in the neighborhood. Thank you, sir. That's it.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Tibbetts. All right. All right. Is there anyone else who would like to speak that hasn't had an opportunity? One of the good things about these kind of hearings is we don't get kicked out.
Right.
All right. All right. Seeing none, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and your patience. This was a team effort. I appreciate the help, especially at the start. And I think this went well, a lot better than I had anticipated, but I appreciate everyone's patience with the computer and waiting their turn to speak. I know it not the most ideal thing, but given the circumstances, it's the best we could do, and I think it was a good hearing. Again, if you want to submit written comments, May 29th is the deadline. All right. Thank you all very much. I hope you have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.